We are here with the great, the elegant Sage Steele.
Sage Steele has been a pioneer female journalist at ESPN for nearly 2 decades.
She's a trailblazer whose life story embodies the essence of determination, courage, and integrity.
You fought the fight, and now here you are. I flew here today because I respect you so much.
Sage Steele decided to say what she really thinks.
ESPN told her not to deviate from Biden's interview script.
Mr. President, thank you for being here as we get set for a wonderful day in sports.
Sage Steele recently departed from ESPN.
What happened with ESPN and what caused your departure?
With everything you say, it's a little bit of a risk, but I'm telling the truth.
She sued Disney for violating her constitutional rights.
I said I was forced to get it, and I think it's sick for any company to require their employees to do something to their body.
What was it like behind the scenes when you were feeling so unwelcome at ESPN and Disney?
Did you have actually great relationships there?
I did.
Why did they not stand behind you?
I've finally learned to be okay not being liked, even if they're for reasons that I think are stupid.
Grow a pair of balls and have a conversation. If you don't like it, tell me, and I will adjust.
This is by far the best part of the
Can you
entire
please
podcast.
bring me that bottle of wine?
She's a consummate professional. She cares about her performance. She knows what she's doing. She's been a pro for decades.
I will never back down because that's who I am.
Sage Steele is the host of the Sage Steele Show on Bill Maher's podcast network.
People can say what they want about me, and they do, but no matter what, no one gave me anything.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of Mislaibeled. We are here. Well, before I get to who we're here with, if you're watching this, if you can please like, subscribe, and comment, it would mean the world. We are here with the great, the elegant Sage Steele.
I get a great and an elegant.
You get a great and an elegant.
You guys can come over anytime.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions. First of all, I really appreciate you for allowing us into your home. Really.
Of course.
And,
thank you for making the effort. Seriously.
Yeah,
I know it's a hike.
No, so it wasn't so bad. It was 2 hours from Long Island to maybe 220. But we've had a good chat already, and as I told you, I don't like getting too much into the weeds and having too many conversations, especially when I just meet someone, because I want to have those conversations right over here.
Exactly.
So I didn't ask you to give me a little bit of background. Like, you grew up, first of all, where and in what type of home?
Oh, gosh. Military kid, Army brat. So, like, I don't have a hometown. I don't know where I'm from. So by the time I was 11, I lived in 4 countries. So like, I really don't know where I'm from, and it's okay. That's all I didn't know there were people like you who were like from Cleveland, or is that what town you're from? Like actually Cleveland, not like Akron, Cleveland, and like have lifelong friends who they went to first grade, kindergarten with. Yeah. I'm like, really? People do that? Like I didn't.
Was that extremely challenging?
That's all I knew. When that's all you know, there's no difference. It's like, okay, next. So now we're moving from California to Greece, which is what we did, or Greece to Belgium, or Belgium to Colorado.
So you're saying it's almost more difficult if you grew up till, let's say, you're 12 living in California and then go somewhere versus every single year and a half pick up and go somewhere.
It depends on the kid.
Okay.
I was the oldest of 3, and my baby brother, he's 9 years younger. He's much younger, but I'm probably less mature, but it's okay. Like he didn't handle as well. He struggled with the moves.
I can imagine. It's like you make friends, then all of a sudden your friends are gone.
Correct.
Like, bye-bye. You make friends.
It just depends on each kid. Like I was super shy. And actually, it was really hard, but what do you do? Like, I didn't have a choice. And I was super close with my parents. Still am. Talk to them every day. And so, do you know what I mean? Like,
where do they live now?
They just moved to Jacksonville, Florida.
They're
all leaving the Northeast. Go to Florida.
Everyone's going to Florida.
Yes.
People are probably going crazy because they hear me say this every pod. I feel like the last 7 pods.
Go to Florida.
No, but it's come up. No, I have 3 siblings that have moved to Florida in the last 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm moving in September, full time. So
is that why you invited me to come to this house in Connecticut? Because you're not here anymore?
You want to buy it, please? Actually, I was like, why are we doing it here? Let's meet at the beach. No, like I'm going to call that home now and hopefully forever. But I'm not opposed to looking, like I actually want to look in Nashville, and I want to maybe buy a place in Las Vegas because all the sports are going to Las Vegas. There's so much going on there, and I have a lot of friends there. But just to be able to hop around, I'm really good at moving. I'm really good at adjusting because of how I grew up. And but I feel so grateful because so when people talk about diversity and inclusion these days, I'm like, whatever, I've been doing that my whole life, because when you live in different countries and you have to meet new kids every couple years when you move, and then you just want to be on the kickball team, right? Like you just know how to make friends, even if you're shy, and I figured it out. And I got to see different worlds. When I was a Girl Scout, like little, for the day, we would go to like Paris for the day for our field trip. Or in 3rd grade, I went to the Acropolis for the day because that's where I lived. And so you meet people from different countries while you're going to school. Like, I just thought that was normal. I'm so grateful because that's why people get mad when you say I don't see color. I don't. I don't. I mean, obviously you see it, but I don't care.
Makes sense.
Color, religion. I just accepted everybody, and they accepted me, and it was like a great upbringing.
That actually makes so much sense because most of us grew up in one environment our entire life, and then we need to adjust out of that when we're, let's say, 17 or 18. We go to college, we go wherever we go, and now it's like a different experience. It's like, oh my God, we're meeting all these different colors, all these different cultures and people. So now don't see color. And it's like, oh, well, that's difficult because I only grew up for the first 18 years, which are the most formative years, in only this environment. But if you're always jumping around, then as a child, you're learning that
all you know is that there's different cultures and that it's not one way.
It's like, for me, it took me going to Prague and running around Europe for a few weeks to understand there's another world outside of Queens, New York.
Correct. I think it's, awesome for you, good on you for doing that, because a lot of kids are afraid to do it. I told my kids that if they went to college here in the Northeast, I wasn't paying for it. Because I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah.
This is what they have primarily, we moved to Connecticut in 2007 when I started at ESPN. And I left ESPN in 2023. So their whole life, except 3 years, moved to Arizona. I was doing NBA in LA and moved to Scottsdale. But that was only 3 years. So their whole life pretty much has been here. And so all their friends are going to UConn or URI, Providence, great schools, but it's all the same.
Experience.
I'm like, get out of here. So I have kids who are in North Carolina and then another one is going down south, south next year. And I'm like, just try new things. It's a whole different world there. Yeah. The accents, the food. And so I'm forcing them to do it.
I hear that. Yeah. Getting I always joke around. I've told him, I'm like, I want to just be a bartender for 3 months in the middle of some random. I want experiences. I just want to, and people ask me why I do even this. I'm just I want to try my hand with everything. I want to live a full life and just do everything,
Take it from me. Please do that. Take every chance, travel everywhere, do your thing. Please, please, please. Not that you need to hear it from me, but I started working the second I got out of college. If you get an opportunity in TV or anything, you take it. It was a good opportunity. You take it. And I was making $18,000 a year on TV, waiting tables at night to be able to pay the insurance on my car, pay my rent, whatever.
Keep on going so you can explain to all the kids who are younger now how it goes.
I'm like, I have no patience for this culture. Really? I mean,
I'm with you.
They thought it was this TV is so glamorous. I'm like, yes. When I got off the air, I would go home, change clothes, maybe take a quick nap because I was up at 3 a.m. to do TV stuff.
Right.
And then I was waiting tables from 5 p.m. to midnight.
They don't get it.
And then here's the best part. I'm asking how they'd like their steak, baked potato, butter, sour cream, bacon, cheddar too. Wait, aren't you that girl from TV? I'm like, yes. How would you like your steak?
Wow.
So they'd recognize me from TV. And then I'm taking their order. And I was glad to do it. I was glad to have the job. But the point is, whatever it takes to make it and make ends meet, even though they think you're on that TV screen and it's all you're making money. I wasn't.
Yeah, they think everything's so glamorous.
Yeah.
They're probably so confused also. What? What's going on?
What is she? I'm yes, I'm poor. But that's cool. I wouldn't change it because people can say what they want about me, and they do quite often without even asking me or knowing me. But no matter what, no one gave me anything.
So I was going to say, what kind of values were you brought up with in your home? Your father, right? You're an Army brat. So what type of values were you instilled with? These specifically?
Hard work, respect, a lot of structure. When I was a little kid, every Saturday morning we had room inspections.
Really?
So my dad, who's a West Point graduate, retired colonel, 23 years. And my dad, physically was imposing too. He's almost 78. He's still here, thank God, by the grace of God, because he's cancer and all of the things, but he's doing great. Anyway, he's shrunk about 3 inches. He was 6'6" and a half.
Wow.
Now he's only about 6'3". But at that time, especially as a kid, he every Saturday morning, we knew 9 a.m. sharp, but he called it 0900, not 9 a.m.
Right,
or if it's 2 p.m., it's 1400, right?
Wow, you were dealing with some real tough shit.
Time. And then he'd knock twice on our doors for inspection, and ready or not, I mean, you have to. So you open the door and then you salute.
Actually,
that's
crazy.
Wow.
Are you prepared for inspection? We're like, yes, sir. Now, it was kind of a joke,
right?
And it was fun, and it was competitive with the siblings, and of course I always won. But It was about,
Wow.
obviously. Yeah. I mean, I have 2 younger brothers, whatever. But he made something like, no, you have your own room. Like, in hindsight, I know now we didn't have any money. You're not going in the army if you're trying to get rich, like anything military. But the way, I mean, I wanted for nothing. But it's like, this is your bed, this is your room, these are your clothes. Be respectful. You think it's free? Pick it up, fold it right. He checked the drawers. Every infraction, it wasn't, that's what he called them, infractions.
He literally brought the army into the home.
Sounds a little intense, but it breeds accountability.
10 push-ups for every infraction.
Oh my God.
So that was a competition who could do the fewest amount of push-ups.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
So when I was pretty jacked from a young age, but like if you're at dinner or sitting there and you crack your knuckles, 10 push-ups. If you're biting your nails, 10 push-ups.
Is that too much?
He made it fun.
Got it. So it was done with love? Was there any?
Absolutely. Oh my God, so much love. But it was about, and then you have little things like when you shake hands, like, let's do this again. And it better be firm and your eye contact. And my daughters and my son too, but for girls, they get stopped every time. People will be like, oh my God, that handshake. And so those little things matter, things that I didn't think mattered. But now as a mother, I'm like, oh, wow. Now, do I do room inspections with my kids? No, I should have. I failed. But like those things they were competition, right? And it made it fun.
Right.
And it taught you the respect for your things. And then it was, we'd rip on each other. Like, you had to do 60 push-ups. I only had to do 20. Like, it's a victory.
Wow. I love that. So I was reading and doing my research. Your father's black, right? Mm-hmm. And your mom is white. Mm-hmm. Given the political climate today where everything is about color, like we were just saying, what did it teach you to see to grow up in a world which totally coexisted, like, with a black father, a white mom, and like, what do those lessons teach you? What did you learn from that?
That's why maybe I don't focus on race.
Doesn't mean anything to you.
Right. I had the best upbringing.
Yeah?
And like, once we came back to the States in 1984 from Belgium, that's when I got to really know my family, because it was hard for them to be able to afford to fly to Greece or Belgium to see us. It's not like you just go to Long Island and see your aunt and uncle and go back. Like, it was a major effort and nobody could afford it. Once a year, we'd get some guests from the United States and we'd do the whole, all the touristy things. And I was like, oh my God, we have to go to Paris again. This is so annoying. And now I'm like, can we go to Paris, please?
Yeah,
Costs a lot of money.
You grew up in the places everyone wanted to go to.
Right, but I didn't appreciate it. That's why now I'm like,
know
can
that
I go
it was
back?
vacation and tourism. It was your life.
It was normal, right? My mom's parents actually disowned her for wanting to marry a black man.
Really?
Yeah. And I didn't know all the story until much later. But how about that for strength?
Yeah.
And my mom was pretty close to them. It was a different era, but for her to have to choose between her parents and the man she loved, and she was only 22. Like, my oldest daughter is turning 22, like in a couple of weeks. So I'm just blown away at her strength to make that decision. And she was the oldest of 4, and they were younger, so they couldn't, But like for their wedding, my uncle, the one that's the first youngest sibling from her, he walked her down the aisle. He showed up. He was
really?
Like, screw this, I'm coming. Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know. I look at that. That's why I don't laugh and mock the serious issues right now racially in our country, but I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it used to be like. My parents in 1970, 71, to make that decision to do that, they lost friendships because of it.
Right.
People, not everybody, even friends, were like, what are you doing? It's coming off the civil rights era. It was a very different time. So I see, and my parents see so much progress. So when people talk about how terrible it is, I'm like,
you're like, what the hell are you talking
shut up,
about?
like, stop. Is there room for improvement? Of course.
Always.
No matter where you live or what race or religion,
is the cup half full or half empty? It's really
correct. Like, to me, that's a choice. So yeah, I just grew up with all different colors, and then aunts and uncles, a lot of interracial marriages there. I mean, you see our huge family picture once a year. My parents hosted a 4th of July party and everybody would come. This is when they lived actually in Connecticut, about an hour from here. Coincidence. And you could not put anybody together. Everybody's all mixed up and interracial this, interracial that. Well, this one is half black but straight hair, and then you got my hair, and I have 3 kids who are white as can be with not a single curl. Like you don't know what you do, what's happening when you start mixing things.
I hear that.
I grew up with so much love, you know. Now it took a while, and I was a little girl when my maternal grandparents came back and like were accepting of my mom and dad. So I didn't know that until I was much older. Can I just plug this?
Please.
On my Twitter X page, I've had it pinned for like 6 years. NFL Films did a piece. My brother works for the Baltimore Ravens, and they focused it on him, but then they realized while talking to my parents, oh my God, their story's amazing. So it's a piece that NFL Films did on my whole family, focusing on my parents. When I saw the piece, I learned about my parents and decisions they had to make that they made when my mom's parents wouldn't even talk to her because of who she was marrying.
Wow.
And so that piece, every time I watch it, which is maybe 150 times, I cry every time. Because I think about their decisions and what they went through. And for my mother to say, you know what, Mom and Dad, I love you, but you're wrong. And I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to marry this man who loves me for me, not because of my race.
Well, it also seems like she made a good decision because she clearly has 3 incredible kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the third one, but I've heard that you just said, well, I know enough about you to say that you're one incredible kid. And then the brother you just said is
he is the senior vice
VP.
president of public relations and communications for the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, so that's 2.
And my baby brother, he's the smartest one, the most and Chad, the one for the Ravens, he at full ride, he played basketball at Winthrop. And then Courtney, he helps run music festivals, like all the food and beverage for like the big music festivals and concerts out west. So like I'm getting ready to go to Lovers and Friends out in Vegas. He's in charge of all the food and beverage for like 80,000 people.
Okay, so I'm
At
not wrong.
Coachella right now.
He's not at Coachella. I think he's like, thank God. But he does tons of these big shows like all across the country. So he's like, and he was running nightclubs and stuff. So he's in a totally opposite industry. He's the cool one. Out of the
Yeah, I
three of
can
us.
tell.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for this episode, CubX. CubX is an IT company that personally does my own IT. I've recommended these guys to multiple of my friends. They have come back with nothing but rave reviews. These guys have fantastic customer service. There are no hold times. You call, you get through, they fix your problem immediately, and they are truly a group of talented IT professionals. They service specifically companies of 5 employees or more. They have a special division for companies with 500 employees or more, and a additional division specifically dedicated to the healthcare field, which is an area that they particularly specialize in. If you'd like to get through to them, you can reach them at 732-444-8771. Press 2 to get through to the sales department. You can also email them at hello@cubx.com. That's hello@cubx.com. You can also check them up online at cubx.com. Again, that's cubx.com. If you're a new company that's starting out and need a great IT team, definitely reach out to these guys. Or if you're an existing company that is currently not happy with your existing IT firm, I would highly recommend this group. Thank you so much, guys. Back to the episode. So I want to ask you, how did you, first of all, let's go to the career for a little bit. How did you set your sights on, were you planning on getting into?
Yes.
All along?
100%.
What made you interested in that to begin with?
11 years old when I announced I was going to be a sportscaster.
Really?
Yeah.
This
is like 1983, 84.
Were you specifically looking for basketball, or you were open to, let's say, the NFL or anything?
Football more.
Really?
Yeah.
So what happened with basketball? How did that become the thing?
Well, then you just become a sports fan, you know? But my dad was and is my person. So I was like, that's the best way to be able to spend time with him, you know?
And sports?
Yeah, just watching TV, watching football on the weekends. Like, it was so cool. It was so, you could see his joy. He played college football. So you could see his joy in it. And I just knew, like, I want to learn about this. And I wanted to learn, like, about the why with athletes. Like, what makes you great?
Right.
And what makes you, like, I don't know. To
like
me, as an athlete, and high school. All right, that's what I mean by athlete. So perspective here. But I remember, like, in junior high and high school and on the track team, and I ran the 800 and the 4x4, and I wanted to vomit as I'm approaching the starting line. And I'm like, how do these people on the Olympic level, or you're starting quarterback in the Super Bowl, millions, billions of eyes are on you. Like, how do you put all of that together and working your whole life for this one moment and not flip out? Like, where does that mental toughness
Like the
come
fortitude?
from?
Yeah.
Yes. I was
Focus.
in awe of them and wanted to understand it and then wanted to tell the stories.
Well, in
But
a
that's
weird
where
way,
it came
you-
from watching, from being a fan.
I mean, I say in a weird way, you kind of did that yourself also. Like, yeah, you weren't the one on the field, but now you were the one announcing in front of probably more people, I would argue, than.
Right.
I mean, you had more than 80,000 people in a football stadium watching you. You had
You could have like
hundreds.
yeah, you did the the finals
Bowl.
2012, 2013, right?
Gosh, all the way till like 2019.
Oh,
from
2019,
12
you
to
have-
19, yeah.
You have millions of viewers.
I know.
Is there
I couldn't think
anxiety?
about
Sports
it.
Center, yes.
Is there anxiety when you're looking into that camera and all this stuff that's
Oh my
going
God.
on?
I'm like, I get nervous thinking about it again.
Every single time you got up there, or did it become much easier?
It became easier, and I ended up using those nerves as like, I channeled them the right way, and it gave me the energy I needed to be
adrenaline.
up. And thank you, adrenaline. Yes, you'd think that with my career I would be able to come up with the right words. Apparently, I'm failing. There's one time in particular in Cleveland. It was LeBron's first
Return?
season back, and they went to the
Okay.
finals against the Warriors, right?
Yeah,
Is
lost
this
4-2.
15? 16?
Yeah, 15.
15? 15, yeah, because they
15.
won in
This
16.
guy knows every single
Yeah,
LeBron
yeah,
stat.
15,
You're gonna
15.
Yes, okay,
Like
let's go.
Let's go.
And so game 3 was the first game back in Cleveland, am I right?
Yeah,
They won that.
They crushed him.
Were you there?
I was not there. Well, they didn't
It's not a
crush him. They
crush.
didn't crush him.
They
but
won in overtime. What are you talking
They didn't
about?
win in
The
overtime.
finals?
Game 3, no, they didn't.
Game 3.
Game 3, no, they didn't.
Which is
LeBron
the
had
first-
that LU from Dellavedova to make it
Delhi.
81-76.
Oh my God. Look at that's incredible. I don't know
Yes.
those numbers. You have no life
Game
officially.
3 of the 2015
Game 3 of the
finals?
2015 finals, they're wearing the yellow jerseys against the blue
No, they
Warrior
didn't. He
jerseys.
won,
and
I'm
LeBron
telling
made a
you.
steal, and then he told Delhi to
Time out.
throw it up, and he threw it over
Pause.
Thompson.
They lost game 1 in overtime. That's where Kyrie got hurt.
Correct.
Yes.
They won game 2 because Delhi got that rebound off of the three-pointer that was shot.
Oh, I don't remember that
And he
one.
got
trust this guy.
fouled, and then
See,
he
now I
hit
need
2
to go
free
back and
throws.
watch
Anyways,
this
going
again.
on, yeah.
I
Not
love
gonna
this.
beat me on this.
But
But yeah, the game 3 finals. Yeah.
So game 3 finals, I'm sitting. So if I don't know if you ever recall when you were watching, you must
was
have
watching, yeah,
watched,
yeah.
Or if you ever got in the arena. So like the set for NBA Countdown was like you go kind of the first level, and then the set was like right above the tunnel, and so I remember sitting there like 90 seconds out. I have Doug Collins, Jalen Rose, Dwayne Wade was our guest analyst. 90 seconds out, I sit down. There's no teleprompter. Like that's not, people think that's on the road in particular. For some people, there's a teleprompter. For me, there wasn't. Thank you. It was, I prefer to not because I wanted it to be a genuine question or whatever, which is why I was very imperfect all those years at ESPN because I wanted to be like this versus read. Anybody can read, you know, some better than others. But like, anyway, 90 seconds out. And I started to think, first of all, you couldn't hear yourself think. It was deafening at the cue.
yeah.
People were so excited to have LeBron back.
Yeah.
And I remember looking around and completely forgetting everything I was going to say to start it off. Like when you are starting off the show, your start is everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I went blank and I started to go, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I had notes certainly, but like you want to talk and be conversational.
Yeah, for sure.
And I literally wanted to throw up. And then I just took a deep breath. And I actually get choked up thinking about it because I was able to take a step back. And you know what came to my mind? That 11-year-old girl who had this crazy dream to be a sportscaster. And I was so shy. People were like, good luck with that. You have to talk if you want to be on TV. Even my parents were like, yeah, what's your backup plan? Love you, but what's your backup? Because you're too shy. So I went back to the 11-year-old girl for that moment and looked like my life was flashing before me. Like all the things along the way, all the people who said you couldn't do it, most importantly myself, I didn't believe in myself for so many years. And then I'm sitting there now 60 seconds away from the world watching. And I just soaked it up and looked around and saw all of those Cavs fans who were so desperate for victory and so glad LeBron was there. And it was a moment that probably one of the best of my career to be present and to somehow push through the fear that I had because, oh shit, I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a moment. And then I channeled it, like I said, and rocked it. And we had a great 30-minute show and we did a great halftime. And it was a moment where I realized, okay, I can do this
I can handle
as
anything.
good as anybody else.
Yeah.
As good, proper grammar, as well as anybody else, with the most pressure ever on you, because who knows, 10, 20 million people watching at that moment, maybe. I'm just grateful that I was able to remove myself and my fears. It was almost like I was out of body, looking at the queue and all the fans, and myself, this scared, shy kid who was doing it at the highest level.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy. I know I don't know a little bit know what you're talking about, but I know when you're on set and like you forget a little
Yeah,
bit.
you
what
forget and you're.
But you have to trust
You
yourself.
want to be in the present moment,
do.
but like you also want to remember everything that's going on and what you have to say. And
But you also need to get to the point. This is what I realized. Get to the point where even if you don't know exactly what you're going to say, you trust yourself that you've got enough experience, number one, and knowledge in here that something good will come out. Even if you don't know what it's going to be. You cannot memorize. I used to try when I was a young reporter, you try to memorize all of it. And I watched people even coming on SportsCenter and doing reports in the field trying to memorize it. And then what happens? You miss one word and you're screwed because then you go, oh God. And then you see like their eyes glaze over. So to trust yourself to wing it, kind of scary at that level.
Naturalness,
but
yeah.
once you do it a couple times, you're like, oh, I got this.
And isn't it the best ones at their jobs are the ones that winged it? Like Stuart Scott, cool as the other side of the pillow. Like that's not something that's written on a paper. That's him coming up with that at the time, and then it just became a catchphrase that he used. And then
He was the best.
He's the best.
And he was my dear friend.
Was he
Probably
a
one of
mentor?
my only true friends that I had there.
Really?
I have his stuff in my office over there. Yeah. I can't believe it's been 9 years. You know, I'm heartbroken over it still, to be honest with you, because I could have used him these last couple of years.
I can imagine, yeah.
But I didn't love Stu Scott, like the broadcast. I mean, I did. He was great. But I knew Stuart, the person, the father, the human, who didn't care about the cameras or the spotlight. Like I knew Stuart when I went to his chemotherapy session with him right around the corner here, you know? So there was a lot more to him than people realize, for sure, as there are with all of us.
Yeah.
It's just most people don't take the time to try to get to know that person.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that you say all this. Is like one of the things that has become like I've noticed a lot. And I grew up watching tons of SportsCenter as a kid, coming home, watching Jonathan Coachman, watching you, watching Stuart Scott, Bob Lee, everyone. And the talent back then at ESPN and the sports broadcasting, it was all about stories.
Yeah.
Journalism was about stories and the sports that came along with it. So it was both saying the sports and, you know, the scores and having Baseball Tonight and, you know, Carl Ravitch and the whole thing. But then also having the stories. And you had, I forgot his name, that he used to do all like the 10-minute, the Make-A-Wish Foundation films. Jeremy
Schaap.
Jeremy
for sure.
Schaap. And
Chris Connolly does like the Make-A-Wish stuff,
right,
and the beautiful storytellers.
And the beautiful storytelling. And like that's what sports was, and that's what it is. And it seems that now, like ESPN and other, you know, other channels have gone more towards this opinion-based, you know, debate shows types of things, but they've gone away from like where this lore of like Outside the Lines with Bob Lay and Stuart Scott and the different things. And like, I just want to get your opinion on that of like where the sports broadcasting is now from where it was then. And like I just feel like there's some loss that's happened.
Definitely. And for those of us who, not just, I mean, most importantly, the viewers, where you even notice, and you're not even that old, right? Where you have seen the difference, especially the Bob Lees and all those people who were there from the beginning for Bob. But even, I came in 2007. It has changed dramatically since then.
Right.
Next level.
Yeah. It's so funny. I have so many people who come up to me or write me and say, what happened? I feel like I'm lucky I got out at the right time, even though it wasn't the way I ever thought it would happen. But when I talk to so many of my friends who used to be there, it was a gradual change. And I don't know how conscious it was, but when it was happening, we all felt it.
Yeah.
And we're like, what are we doing? Even if you have different opinions, I believe, and I will never, ever alter my opinion on this. People came to ESPN for an escape. You're a fan, you're a sports fan.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to watch your team, you want to know about, okay, Cavs are like third in the East. What's it going to take to get, one
no
or
one wants
two,
to hear-
whatever it
People use
is.
Sports isn't like the idea is you come home, you get away from your job, from your 9 to 5. It's how you bonded with your dad. That's what it is. That's what sports was.
And for some reason, they got away from it. The thing is, a lot of us said something about it. Maybe I can't say a lot. I know I did. I was like to the bosses because I had great relationships there. Actually, I'm like, what are we doing? Why would we divide? Why would we separate? Why go political?
Did you have actually great relationships there?
I did.
So then, why did they not stand behind you? Ultimately,
I don't know that I've ever been asked that question. It's a great question. I think that there are forces greater than people at ESPN. Well, I know there are. It's Disney, and it's the top of Disney food chain. And at the end of the day, people will do what it takes to keep their job, and I get that. So, but it's funny. I think there's definitely, I'm just now kind of really diving deeper into that because I've avoided it for a long time because I didn't want to because it's not comfortable. But especially when you're super loyal, and I gave everything.
Yeah.
When I started there, my kids were 11 months old, 2 and 4. They're now 18, 20, and 22.
I read, is it true that you got
So,
offered the job before that, but you declined originally because you were pregnant?
Yeah. So that little girl who had this dream for all those years, and I finally got the offer. Finally got it. And I was so excited because for years I've been trying and they were like, you're not ready. You need to do this. You need to change this. You need to slow down. True. I still talk too fast. But like they were right. I had a lot of work to do. It was super competitive then too. Like you had to be the best to get in or, in their opinion, it's all subjective.
I'm sure, but yes.
It's all subjective. But I had to do a lot of work for 3-4 years, specifically once I started to talk to people at ESPN before they gave me a shot to even audition.
Wow.
And I auditioned and then I got it. And that's when I turned it down. I was pregnant with number 2. I had a 20-month-old at home. I knew I wanted more. And Stuart Scott's the one that was like, listen, I love you. Don't come until you're like ready because this place will eat you up, especially as a woman. This is early 2000s.
Yeah.
Things are different now. Maternity leaves, HR departments.
Yeah.
Everything is very, very different. So why did they not stand by me?
Were you close with Bob? You know Bob Iger?
I wasn't close with him, but yeah, certainly knew him and did a few events with him and loved him. I thought he was, he's obviously brilliant, smart man, good businessman, does a lot of things. But it was devastating for them to punish me the way that they did.
You think it was devastating for them or devastating for you?
Oh God, they don't care.
They don't give a shit, right? For you. I got it.
No, they don't care. It was like, wait, what? She's going off the reservation here? Nope. Check over here.
No, mean to say not to beat a dead horse, but I just feel like I'm sure were people there that you're kind of looking at like, how could you almost betray me?
Absolutely.
And you claim to be this person for the last 16 years, and we were like this, yet they're trying to give me
Silence.
the boot, and you're silent.
They're silent, or they're contributing to making sure I get punished.
Yeah.
It's been a great lesson that people aren't always who you think they are as far as their strength and their loyalty. So I had there's a lot of people who I thought were friends who I now know that it was subjective and it was temporary based on how comfortable they were. But I also try to give them grace, even my bosses, because people have to do what they have to do to stay in the good graces of their bosses, to continue to get that paycheck, to be able to pay their bill. I get it. Like I lived in that fear for years, and I also have lost a lot of respect for people because you preach it, but you don't practice it. You talk about diversity of thought and being tolerant of everybody. Oh, but only if they say what you want them to say and fit this certain narrative. So I am just now diving into that from a mental like heartbreak level because I did give it all. And it was a two-way street. I received so much. Like I am grateful for so much that they did for me, literally. Like I loved my job the entire time, even when it wasn't easy. Even NBA countdown days with crazy ass Bill Simmons. Like literally, I loved it then. It was a challenge, and I kept trying to learn about myself and be better and stand up for myself. I didn't know I had to. I didn't know he hated me before he even met me. Like I didn't know.
Bill hated you?
Oh my God, yeah.
Why?
because he didn't want to host on NBA Countdown. He thought he wanted it to be, they had gotten rid of Mike Wilbon, sadly, which had something to do with Bill. They had,
Well, they got rid of Jeff Van
blew the
Gundy,
whole,
right?
that was more recent.
I know, no, I'm
That-
saying that's
that's like
recent.
its
I was
own-
like,
that's
what?
its own thing.
I still remember I called him. I'm like, what the actual fuck is going on over here? They're like, cuts this, that. I don't know, man. Cut someone else. Don't cut Jeff Van Gundy from ESPN. Like, I love listening to that guy every single game. I turned on the game to hear him. Just certain decisions.
None of us, not all of us understood that. But no, at that time, Bill didn't, I mean, they'd gotten rid of, Magic Johnson actually quit. And Bill Simmons had something to do with why Magic was like, I'm out. And then it's like, blow up the whole thing, bring in a host. Well, Bill wanted it to be more like just guys talking basketball, him and Jalen and whoever else. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know. I was doing SportsCenter. I had little kids. I was like here in Connecticut, like living my life. And all of a sudden they blew it all up and said, you want to be a host? I was like, excuse me? Season starts in 2 weeks. Like what? It's in Los Angeles. And so I didn't know that I don't think it was personal at first. He just didn't want to host. He wanted it to be like a talk show thing with the guys. And they asked me, and I'm not going to say no. Like I was honored. NBA Countdown, really?
For sure.
And then went there, and I listen. I know I probably could have done some things differently. I would love to know what they are. At that moment, all I tried to do was like actually be a host, be the point guard, distribute, right? And then follow what the producers were saying and the bosses were saying for a show that had sucked for years. We're trying to revamp. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say. And I tried to be smaller, make myself smaller in order to make sure those guys, Doug Collins, Jalen Rose, and Bill Simmons, knew, like, this is about them. I haven't been in those huddles. Neither had Bill, frankly, but Jalen and Doug certainly had. So it's like, I just want to listen. My questions are genuine, but I didn't do it the right way, according to him, I guess. And so I was the double. And I had no idea. Like, I didn't know. So it ended up blowing up at the end of that my first year. And then
He ended up leaving the whole thing.
He was taken off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to him since?
No, hell no.
That's when he had Grantland, and then he moved to the Ringer.
Yeah. Grant, yeah.
Rebranded the whole thing.
Rebranded, yeah. And listen, I always thought he was talented. I was like...
It's so funny because in terms of listening to his podcast, like I'll say I listen to his podcast a lot of times. He seems like a very upbeat, lovable guy in terms of like when you're hearing him talk, like legitimately. And
he's this really smart person. He's very smart.
Seems very.
His basketball knowledge, despite never really playing basketball or being around it in that way,
he has that
is
whole book,
incredible. He's so smart. Like I always thought, and I wanted to learn from him too. Like he might not have played, but just like many broadcasters, just because you haven't played doesn't mean you can't know about it. Right. I never played in the NFL, but I knew a hell of a lot about the NFL, right? Because I studied it in order to do my job and do it well. And as a woman, feeling like I had to be above everybody else, right? Especially back in the 90s when I started out of college. Like there were never women in locker rooms. So I knew that when I spoke up in that Wednesday, media skirmish, when I'm at Ray Lewis's locker or Jonathan Ogden's locker, or, Warwick Dunn or Warren Sapp's locker, my voice is going to sound different than those guys. Was never with O.J. Simpson. Do you think I'm that old where I was around when O.J. Simpson was playing football?
Right now, just anything.
There's my front door. You can leave. No, I knew I had to be better.
Right.
Especially back then now there's women everywhere. Awesome. That's how I always hoped it would be. Back then I knew I had to be great. So, a lot. Anyway, my point is with Bill, like he knew so much and I had so much respect for that. But again, he didn't want there to be a host and I happened to be the person that they named and he made it pretty clear he didn't want me there. So I didn't understand. I didn't know. I was like, wait, I thought when you are a good teammate and try to pass the ball and set people up, but then I got to listen to producers and I got to go to break, whether you're ready or not. I have to find ways. That's the job of a host.
Right.
And you have to be listening to the producers. And if you don't, then I have to interrupt you because we're on ABC. We got to go. Like it was not an easy thing. I never knew why, but I have heard, I don't listen because I don't care. Honestly, I don't care, you guys. That's the beauty of being older. But I know through the years since he left, which it's been, oh my gosh, this year is 10 years since he was taken off the show and then eventually like let go from ESPN. I never knew why he didn't like me, but I heard that he talked about me a lot on his show, this show and the prior show. I don't know. I don't care. But like, if I really cared, I would have gone and listened to the sound bites. My neighbor would tell me, oh, this is what Simmons said today. I'm like, here's where I really respect people at all levels. If there's an issue that you have,
call you the fuck up.
Call me, text me, let's sit down. But what I have learned over the past 28 years in this crazy ass industry is that the majority of people don't have the courage to have a conversation. And the majority of them are men who, like Bill, like grow a pair. Talk to me, grow a pair of balls and have a conversation. If there's something that I said or did wrong, like I and my bosses and teammates would tell you, I was humble and I was such a damn pleaser that it got me, I regret it took 50 years to be like, screw you. Like I'm doing everything I can. If you don't like it, tell me and I will adjust. Oh my God. But grow a pair of balls and have a conversation with somebody because it's not actually about us.
Right.
It's actually about what goes on that TV screen and the product for the viewers and the fans. That's what it's about. Not about you or your damn ego. But no one, him, execs at ESPN, execs in the industry, my neighbor, no one has the balls to have an actual conversation. But go on your microphone when that person's not there and say what you want. So I now, like at first I remember being hurt. Like, what did I do? Wait, was that coffee we had and that walk we took when we were at the finals in Miami, was that all a lie? I guess so. I was naive and gullible and a pleaser. But that's okay. Like literally, I wouldn't change a thing because I'm so much better and tougher for it. And I learned from those situations. And so it's really okay. But I guess I'm so disappointed where we are today, where all these people preach about all of it and then bitch and moan on their shows.
Yeah.
But like with all my stuff the last few years, most of you guys have my phone number or you can easily reach me. And if you have a question, if you're offended by something I said or you're mad at me or you hate me or you love me, real journalism actually and humanity is to have a conversation, but not one person has picked up the phone or tried to have the conversation. So I'm like, okay, then that I don't have time for that. And I choose to have people with good energy who want to be good teammates around me.
That's literally what, like broadcasting, going back to the beginning, I guess the question I had was, it just seems like everything's just opinion based now. It's like, there's no facts behind a lot of things. It's just, what can I say in order to rile something up, in order to say something, in order to get clicks, in order to get a reaction. Whereas like it used to be, how can I present something that is either so touching or so so good in terms of a product that it'll end up getting the viewership that it'll get from a natural standpoint. And
but they're encouraged to do this.
Also?
They're encouraged to do it. I mean, look, so people can say, I hate all the opinion stuff, but look at the ratings on First Take, for example.
Right.
Or what's the Fox one?
Right, Undisputed.
Undisputed with Skip. Like, Keyshawn. Like, the views, if the ratings go up, what are they going to do? Right. So I would say that's the viewer's fault. If you don't like it, why are you watching? Why are you giving them clicks? So you can hate on them and send it to your friend and be like, I hate that guy. Well, you're watching. So that's why they continue to push it more.
Right. I mean, it's also with the world today, it's another thing is that like with the talent before at ESPN and earlier on, and in any industry, it seemed like, and again, we were kids. I was 12 years old, but it was nurtured. Like Bob Lee was there for 30 years, right? He didn't start off as being an absolute legend. Stuart Scott was there for years. People were there for years. Now it just seems as though ESPN, if you turn it on year after year, it's a different anchor that's doing the main Sports Center. There's a different anchor doing the main, 12 o'clock p.m.
Why
show.
is that a benefit to them, though? I don't get that.
It's in a certain way disposed because they don't have to pay the people as much, maybe. They don't have to commit to someone as much.
But turning it on 12 a.m. for Scott Van Pelt is like, that is what I'm turning it on. I want to see him.
They don't have to pay the person as much, right? And
you only have a couple of those people left.
Yeah, they have Scott Van Pelt, who has his thing, the SVP.
Mm-hmm. And he was given SportsCenter. Like, no one else has their own SportsCenter, and he's Scott, and he's badass, and he deserved it. And so, but what I really found, and it especially changed once Stuart Scott passed away.
Oh, really?
Like, they never wanted Stuart to be bigger than the four letters.
That's what it is. You don't want to be bigger than the actual program.
Right.
But guess what? If you have a personality like Stuart Scott or Dan Patrick or Bob Lee, if you have that kind of talent, look at Stephen A. right now. Like, they're gonna help your product. If you allow
but it's like Tucker
someone,
Carlson and Fox. You never want Tucker was getting more powerful than Fox itself, so they
got to get rid. They had to find a reason to get rid of him.
Basically.
But at the end of the day, if you have a superstar like that, doesn't that mean more people are going to tune in? Like, to me, it's so short-sighted.
So long as you work with that talent, yeah. Like, I would agree with that 1,000%. Meaning, I think, for example, Tucker, he was kind of going rogue and doing his own thing. So
he was telling the truth. They don't like it.
Right. I'll be honest. I don't even know the specifics.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't dialed into every single word that Tucker was saying when he eventually
when you
booted.
you can only question some things, not others. Of
course. That
And
goes
then,
without saying.
oh my God, well, what's he questioning? And then, okay. So, and that's what happened to me on a much lesser level than Tucker Carlson. And so I don't know. I just think it's sad because how it used to be was the heyday. It really was. And I miss that. As a viewer, I miss that.
Can you give background to people that are watching exactly what happened with ESPN and what caused your departure? Because there might be some people watching that don't actually know.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm going to preface it with saying the only reason I've decided to really continue to share it is because I do not want anyone to ever feel like the way I did. Anywhere. And throughout corporate America, who you feel like if you're true to yourself in a way that maybe doesn't fit the narrative, then like you're going to get crushed.
Yeah.
It's true. We've seen that a lot. Even if you think about Tucker at Fox, like you thought he aligned with what they wanted and what they wanted to be about until he didn't. So there's so many politics everywhere. Basically, and there have been a few things through the years before the actual dagger, I guess that was in fall of 2021. And I went on Jay Cutler's podcast and it was a brand new podcast and his publicist I knew, and he was like, hey, can you come on for Jay? Like I'd never met him, but we were looking for a female and why not? I was like, sure, I'll do that. So I went on and they did a good job with the research with him. And he posed a couple questions that I had spoken about before that were fine at the time. But then in 2021, my answers were not fine.
Yeah.
I think I was in a way, I don't use the word victim in the literal way, but like it was just based on victim of like that timing.
Yeah.
Because 2014, when I originally said the same things, it was fine. But we weren't coming off of George Floyd and a pandemic and everything like we were in 2021. But basically he asked me about the race, why I choose to say I'm biracial instead of just black. And like, cause I am. Like, I don't know, because I am, right, maybe. And it happened from 2014 on The View when Barbara Walters had asked me live on The View, like, why don't you just say black? And like our president at the time. And I was like, well, because I'm both, just like Barack Obama. She's like, yeah, but he says he's black. And I was like, well, congrats to the president. I said, I think it's fascinating because he was raised by his white mother and white grandmother, and his black father was nowhere to be found.
Where was his dad? I don't know the exact.
Absentee father, and Obama wrote a book about that. Like this isn't something that I thought was brave of him to share. So I wasn't saying anything that that everybody knew about that. But I thought it was fascinating that he chose to only identify as black when his white family raised him.
I don't think it's shocking at all. I'm joking.
What?
I'm saying I'm not surprised.
Well, yeah, I agree with you.
In terms of the
at all.
Yeah.
I agree with you as politics and there was a plan for Obama for many, many, many years before any of us knew his name.
Correct.
So yes, I think it behooved him to say that. But why is she comparing me, first of all, to a sitting president? Who am I? Some like sports chick, like Sportscaster or whatever. But she was like, well, why don't you? I'm like, well, and then I didn't know this, but I looked back later, and at some point during the conversation, they put up a picture behind us on the set behind us, and it was of my family. My white mom, my black dad, and my two siblings and me at my dad's Hall of Fame induction ceremony at West Point. And I'm like, see that white woman there? I'm pretty sure she was there the day I was born. Like,
right.
So I am choosing to identify with my entire family, not just half of me. I actually think that's like,
yeah, I was gonna say that's
beautiful.
Logical.
Isn't that like, that's who I am? Why is that a bad thing? Isn't that define diversity? Like my family defines diversity, right? And so 2014, no one liked it, but it was a different time in 2021. Oh my God, Sage Steele says Barack Obama should identify as black. She's questioning his race. Da-da-da. I'm like, no. People listen to an 18-second clip without context of the whole conversation that I didn't say it.
They also take in whatever they want to.
Correct.
Take in.
Barbara Walters brought that up, and I was recounting the story to Jay Cutler, 7 years later.
They're gonna take what they want to take. It doesn't.
Yeah, and especially these days, they took the clip and it was like, well, okay, you do you, Barack Obama. I'm gonna do me. Like, yes, I said that, and I would say it again, even if he were sitting here, because he has chosen to do what he wants, and I respect that.
Right.
It was as a biracial kids, where it's not easy. It's not always easy. Where you're not quite enough here, you're not quite enough there. I just did my new show, an interview with Matt Barnes, the NBA player, who is also biracial. I love him to death, and he's so terribly misunderstood as a player he was. And like we went in depth about that, about, he had a white mom and a black dad, same as me, and he wasn't black enough here, and he had good hair, so the black kids didn't like him, but he certainly isn't white. We're seeing, what is that? And then do you change the way you talk? Do you change the way you dress? Do you change your hair? Do you put braids in? Do you, it's a thing. And so
identity conflict.
It is when you're told that you're not enough on either side.
Yeah.
So I felt so grateful to have this family, white and black, who love me equally. And I was not going to choose a side just because, yes, of course. And I get it all the time. If you're on TV, they see you're black. Sorry, girlfriend. I'm like, great, of course. Right. They're not going to say, oh yeah, the white girl with curly hair on ESPN. No, obviously. And I'm proud of all of it. But if I'm asked, I want to celebrate my mom as much as I want to celebrate my dad. It's really not rocket science here. Yeah. But for some reason, that was a big thing. So it was that, and then the COVID
right.
mandate.
Why did I think it was more of the vaccine mandate thing that you spoke out against?
Well, because initially it was, but I also got canceled because of the race thing. The second part, there were 3 actually, but I got suspended from ESPN Disney because of the mandate. I had just come from getting the shot.
I was going to say, do you regret that now? Like,
what?
Do you regret
taking the shot? Yes.
Yeah, and is that something that you felt really shitty about doing? Not to like at the time.
The shot?
Yeah, because you're so principled and they kind of backed you into a corner, right? I
still haven't really forgiven myself.
Really?
For caving.
Yeah.
I caved. I gave in, but I did it because I had to keep my job, and I love my job,
right.
And it's just me with 3 kids. And so, 100% financially responsible for these kids. And so I literally had no choice. I had a choice, but to me, you don't have a choice if you need to pay bills. People say, well, you had a choice. I'm like, yes. And I also have bills. And certainly I was doing quite well at ESPN, right. But you still have bills to pay and mouths to feed. And at
you
that
also
time,
create a lifestyle around whatever income people are having or whatever it is. It's like you have those bills to pay.
I had 1 kid, a freshman in college, and 2 to go. It's all on me. I'm not getting help with this. And it's not a complaint. Everyone has that. That's why I empathize so much with people who felt forced. Because, well, you had it. You could have not done it. Right. If I'm single, great. Let me tell you, I wouldn't have done it. But it's not just about me.
Right.
And so in that way, I had no choice. And so I had just come, literally from the grocery store parking lot, the pharmacy at the frickin' Stop and Shop here in Connecticut, to get the shot on the very last possible day to get the shot if I was going to be fully vaccinated by the Disney imposed deadline. And I was sitting in the car crying, I can't believe I'm going to do this. You are such a loser. You're such a sellout for giving into this. And it wasn't, this is 2021. So we were still learning about the vaccine, right? It was still pretty new. And I just knew, and listen, you don't have to be... Just do a Google search. I had done my homework, and I knew that on average, I think the FDA takes 6 to 9 years to approve a vaccine. This is a couple of months,
Right.
And it had gotten political. If it was Trump saying it, then you had Kamala Harris and Joe Biden saying, I wouldn't touch anything Trump did.
Yeah,
and then Biden gets in the office, and it's oh my God, if you don't, then you're a baby killer and everything else. So it's political. You hear about the dollars being floated around in hospitals if you claim it's a COVID death, even if they died from a car accident.
I never got the vaccine, just to clarify.
You never did?
No, not a fucking chance in hell. I'm just saying,
Good for you.
My whole family's doctors, so they kind of bought in. I got 1 shot. I didn't get 2 because in order to see my family, it was see my niece and nephews.
They made you
tough. It didn't make me, but it was tough. I would have to be around with masks all the time, and I got sick of it at a certain point.
Have they owned it?
Have they owned it?
I don't mean
oh my bad,
but just
I haven't really asked them about it because I knew why they were doing it, meaning they weren't doing it in order to... They were doing it because they really believe, they're all doctors, they really believed the science, and they really believed...
The science that was so limited.
Right, but they believed it for themselves that they were helping themselves. That's what they believed it. They didn't do it because...
They weren't helping themselves, they're helping their anxiety.
Right, they're helping their anxiety. They really... But they believed it, and they were doing it out of love and care. For me, they did not want me to come home in order to not see them. they wanted me as badly as possible to come home, but they also didn't want to die, and they really believed it. Like they legitimately believed,
like I said,
that if they got if the corona happened, this, with all the all the stuff that was going on in the news, it's like, what can you take away that was going to be real, what was not going to be real? So they didn't know. There's a small town family.
But these doctors everywhere. I mean, hello, New York City, right? Like, I never questioned doctors ever.
Right.
Even when I was pregnant, a couple of instances where I look back and I should have, and I finally did it one instance, story for another day. But like, they didn't even have the research, but we're trusting them and saying, go do it, go do it, go do it. And then, so now I just, especially when I look at what happened in New York City to all these emergency workers and the nurses and people who are forced, and it's like, now look, like, is anyone saying, you know what? We made some mistakes here and we rushed to judge. And it's not even like pointing fingers. It's just, we all have to have some ownership of this. And I hope that the next time, because there probably will be, that we're a little more forgiving, and the divisiveness that took place because of that. And because doctors said, you do this or else, and then how that trickle-down effect went from Fauci all the way down Disney and rules, which is what made me end up in that Stop and Shop parking lot.
Yeah.
Just to give people the medical freedom.
That for sure.
Right, but like, we all did it, and we did it based on what we knew at that time. That's why.
That's why also I don't blame you. Asking me, like, do they take ownership? I think, like, from my standpoint, there's like a grace I give. It's like, we all had the information we had at the time, and everyone has their own level of anxiety of what they have around in general disease. You have hypochondriacs in life. You have people that don't give a crap about anything, right? Like, in general, like, you have people's own vision and version of themselves of how they view disease. Like, there are people that will, like, you grow up as a kid, all the kids are eating dirt and they're, not washing their hands or not doing anything. And then you have the families that make you take off your shoes and wash your hands 7 times. So that's how I viewed it always, because I grew up in a doctor's home. So that's exactly how I viewed it. I'm like, my family always made me wash my hands 6 times. So obviously they're going to want me to get the shot.
This was not,
Which
by the way,
makes sense.
The politicians pushing this on you were not, like, that was not the case. Like, I can assure you.
Right.
His family happen to know his family. They're just, they're
neurotic
people.
When it comes to that.
Anxious about this
so, like,
stuff.
in terms of ownership, it's like they had the best information they had. And
But
now,
and I'm not even asking you because that's a personal thing. I don't mean to say that. I'm just saying in general, what I have noticed media-wise, it's like, okay, fine. Like, where they're ignoring myocarditis. They're ignoring all of these things. And I'm like, no, I just want the truth. And I'm not going to point fingers, but don't you dare make me make that kind of decision to keep my damn job. And if you, especially because in 2021, like, we knew that the shot wasn't going to prevent you from getting it or giving it.
Right.
So stop. And we all know the efficacy of the masks, and we still, and it's like, well, something's coming. So whatever. At that time, all I could do was to make the decision between keeping my job or being fired.
Can I say one thing that I find fascinating? We just had Vivek on and we were talking about this as well on that podcast. The biggest problem with the media is that there's effectively zero accountability. You know what it's like? There's this, if you're the media and you go put something out, once it's out there in the world, everyone believes that. And first of all, regardless, they never apologize afterwards and admit they're wrong. But even if they did, it's Fugazi for Ghazi. It makes no difference anymore if they apologize in 6 months. No one remembers that.
Yeah, all they remember is
all they remember is the first thing that goes out that says A, B, and C. Honestly.
You know what? It's kind of
not to make this too political, but in the beginning of the Israel Hamas war, the New York Times and every single person, there was like a rocket shot from Gaza or whatever. By the way, if you don't want to get canceled, definitely don't respond to any of this. But but there was a rocket shot from like the Islamic Jihad or something. Basically, there was a missile that landed on a hospital.
Oh, the hospital thing, yes.
Right away, it was Israel did this, and Israel said we didn't do this, and all the headlines went out that Israel did this. Now, no one bothered. Like, that's all you need.
No one actually bothered to make
follow-up
sure and to
report
confirm.
3 days later it was actually the Islamic Jihad.
Not theirs.
It was not Israel.
But did anybody come back and retract and fix it?
Well, in footnotes.
The bottom.
Yeah, that's what
you know what it's like, and in a weird way, it's like when you accuse someone of something in general, and I think this happened a lot in the Me Too movement as well as it's like when you label someone a pedophile and they're not a pedophile, right? You label someone Me Too, but they're not. No one remembers that they're not part. They only remember the accusation, right?
Okay, how about this? This is one of the most egregious examples recently as a sports fan. Matt Ariza, the Bills punter.
Yeah.
And it came out, the rape case, and apparently she was 17, and it was a party and all these things, and he's a rapist, and he was, remember, punt god because of his leg, and he was like, oh my God, this is the best punter we've ever seen coming out of college. And then the rape accusations. I don't think he was ever charged with the crime.
You don't need to be.
And correct. And they completely, you had all the pundits on First Take and all over ESPN and everybody's saying, if you don't cut him and this is disgusting, da, 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 da. Yeah. And guess what? The case was dropped. Everything was dropped altogether. He was innocent. And what did they do? They completely ruined that kid.
Yeah.
And even
Ruined
though
his life.
It completely ruined his life.
His dreams
and certainly his
that he
NFL
had
career
entirely.
now. And I remember being mad at the Buffalo Bills and being like, slow down. Do your homework and your research first before you just completely cave to the media firestorm. Just like anything. And I'm so sad for that kid because even though we know now that it wasn't the case and it was a false accusation, number one, what happens to that girl? There absolutely should be repercussions
for sure.
for that girl.
Yes.
But very
So
rarely are there.
if you're a reporter and you are going to say something wrong and put out in the world like
Yes.
real deal, like you're ruining people's reputations. You're
Their
changing the
lives.
format of the world. Like the
Correct.
actual, there should be heavy.
There should be, but there's nothing. And so that's number
Only
one.
a
But
free
number
speech,
two,
that's where it gets.
yeah, no, that's not free speech. There's
I agree.
defamation. There's one thing behind saying Sage Steele is a right-wing nut job jackass. I can't stand her. It's fine. It's another thing to say that I killed somebody or I raped somebody. Like that's completely different.
Yeah.
And so I look at that young man, and no matter what, even though it was completely dropped and she lied and all the things, what do people think when they hear his name? Forever.
Right.
Forever.
It's bullshit.
Like, and I, as a parent of kids who are in their, older two are in their 20s, I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, what would I do?
Yeah.
I would end up in prison. I would go kill somebody for saying that about my son. That girl, and unfortunately, I there's a very
She should sit
close
for 10
personal.
years at least.
Sorry,
I'm making up my own arbitrary number, but she should like
something.
Yeah,
but
sure.
there's a case quite close to my family where someone that I love dearly was accused of rape, falsely accused of rape, and as a teenager, and the fallout from that, completely innocent. The girl, all the kids were hanging out, and she missed her curfew, and we're all Army kids, and then she missed her curfew, was afraid to tell her dad, whatever, and so she said, well, yeah, and I was over there, and oh my God, and he wouldn't let me go, and he raped me. What?
Yeah.
What that did and what I witnessed. So I'm very sensitive to that. Male, female, all the above, it doesn't matter. But when you make that kind of an accusation, you absolutely should be punished. And just because it's a girl, young woman, does not mean that you're immune from being held accountable for lies. Because for you guys, you're done.
Right.
You're
Yeah,
not getting
yeah.
a job. Like
Right.
your whole life is affected. So anyway, accountability everywhere, whether it's
also
that or whether
happens-
it's with COVID. I just really struggle with it when it's only one way. And what I said was Disney. I said I was forced to get it, and I think it's sick, and I think it's scary for any company to require their employees to do something to their body that they don't maybe want to do. And I think it's sick and scary. However, and I had a Band-Aid on my shoulder. Unbeknownst, I forgot. I was rushing in from getting the shot that I was crying about to the podcast. And I just rushed in, pulled up my laptop, let's go. And when Jay was like, you have a Band-Aid, I was like, well, oops. And he actually asked me if he could ask me about it in general. I was like, sure, I'll talk about it. Not realizing certainly what would happen. But when I said sick and scary about my company, even though I complied, that's where it went haywire. I ended up suing because legally, here in the state of Connecticut, there's employment laws to protect employees. We are allowed to have an opinion if we're complying with the rules. I complied by getting the freaking shot that I didn't want to get. I can still have an opinion. And that's why we ended up filing a lawsuit, along with the fact that what they were allowing at my network was everybody with differing opinions to say whatever the hell they wanted on ESPN platforms. I was doing it on a day off on a Jay Cutler podcast. So when we have people talking about Roe versus Wade being overturned on an NBA show, or the Don't Say Gay alleged bill, it never had those words in it in Florida, and we're taking a moment of silence during our women's basketball coverage because of this, and everybody can give their opinions and all the race issues, and you can say, if I had said, listen, I love my white mom, but I'm black. Sorry. And Obama, I'm with you. Good job. You're black, not white.
You've been promoted.
I've been promoted. If I had said, all you anti-vaxxers, screw you, you want to kill the world, you are selfish, all those things, I would have been celebrated. But because I said the other things, even though there's 15, 16 years of good work and most importantly, a really good relationship with the bosses, with the network that I was so proud of. So that's how it happened. That's why I'm here today.
What are your feelings about Stephen A. right now having his own show and being able to say whatever the hell he wants?
Can I get another glass of wine?
Oh, please.
Kidding.
Go. If you're being serious, please go knock yourself out.
Do you want some more bourbon?
I'm good.
I have.
They're like, bring the bottle.
I'm chilling.
I love that Stephen A. gets to be Stephen A. I do.
No, I'm just saying, how do you feel about the fact that he can go on he has his own private show. And
Separate from ESPN.
Yes.
Separate from
he's
ESPN.
the Stephen A.
He is
show.
wilding out on that show.
And he's...
And McAfee on
Right.
ESPN airwaves.
Well, he went crazy. He just delivered against them and they couldn't do anything.
It's hysterical. Like, oh, by the way, go Pat. Like, you're saying a lot of things that a lot of people wanted to say for a long time. I got no issues with it. And that's a different story. And that's with what he said about the executive who is now gone
Yeah.
after 40 years.
So that's what I'm saying. But my thing is like...
It's hypocritical, yes.
Yeah. Like
Completely.
you didn't have... You were on a private podcast. She didn't say this on ESPN.
Right, you said it on Jay Cutler. It's like...
And
what are
when
your
they
feelings
say
towards
things,
that?
and they said things about an executive on the air. And by the way, I texted Pat. I'm like, I love you.
Good for him.
Do it. Like you do you, because he knew he had the power. $18 million a year, his whole team, a major investment. And what are they going to do? Fire him for saying it? So he knew he had the power. He said it on a Friday.
He called the guy out by name.
By name and called him a rat. And then on Monday, national championship football, like college football.
Right.
And Monday, he said it again and then took a picture with the new boss and posted it after the new boss who's taking over for that. Like it was,
fuck you.
it was next level. I was sitting there going, oh my God, now love it. And I also thought, wait a minute.
How?
Yeah.
Like on our air to call out our bosses by name, the same boss that suspended me for talking about why I identify as biracial. I was like, wait, that's the same guy that suspended me and said, wait, you got the shot, but I don't like what you said, so you have to be suspended and you have to apologize. We're going to take your side. I was like, go, Pat. But like from a
Can I say
man's
something crazy? And I never ever say this, but I almost feel like that's a man and a woman thing. I know that sounds crazy, and I am the last person. I
Right, like,
swear to
literally
God,
the
I would
last- the
never,
last people here to, like,
ever,
make it,
ever
like,
say
that
that.
way.
I am not. I hate when people make things like about men. Like I'm not that person. But I feel like if you were a Pat, like whatever, like
Stephen A., Pat McAfee,
any of the
Van Pelt could have said it.
Yeah, they would have gotten away with it.
And Pat McAfee had only been there for what? 5 minutes at ESPN when he said
so
it, you
interesting
know.
with the whole Pat McAfee thing, sorry to cut you off, is that I always wondered, why did he get hired by ESPN? Because ESPN has its platform, and its platform is clearly a liberal agenda at this point.
No one admits it, but it is. Right?
It 100% is, and I was like straight to the camera, it is a liberal agenda. It is what it is. Of course it is. And Pat McAfee is clearly an independent agenda.
Very much so.
Very much independent. Like he's, I don't know his personal stances, but just based on the fact that he has Aaron Rodgers on every Tuesday, right, on his thing, it's like, why did they bring him on? And like the more I think about it, based on, this is just my personal opinion, I think ESPN brought Pat McAfee on because they want to prove that, no, really, we have balance. So this is our balance. We have Pat McAfee on, and that's why we won't punish him. We won't do anything to him because he's the one guy where you can't say that we're a liberal agenda.
Or I'll say something. Maybe I'm curious. I'm curious what
that's
your
what
opinion.
that's what I've always, because why would they hire him?
I'll answer
I
the
always
question.
thought about
I'll
it.
answer the question. I'll tell you the answer that I think potentially. I think ESPN right now is they're smart. They're smart. They're riding a wave, and they see that it's a swing. So the liberal left-wing agenda started swinging heavy 2012 to 2013, and it went overboard. And now we are slowly, I think, moving back. There's a conservative voice.
I feel that
is moving towards the middle,
Yeah.
and they want to
I think
start
swinging
moving.
to this independent space.
They want to start moving
yes.
towards that direction.
Which is how it should be. It's independent, just right in the middle and just like no sides. Because at the end of the day, what did Michael Jordan say? Republicans buy
shoes
too.
Yeah.
Like, and so don't we want everybody to watch our programming?
Also journalism. Journalism as itself should be an independent.
It's so
That's the idea. The idea
they're
is,
making it harder. These networks are making it harder on themselves and dividing. I'm like, everybody should want to watch us and not hate us. I can't tell you how many people I have come up to me to say, what happened? And it's not the same as when you started. And I'm like, I don't know. I do know. I actually feel like the timing is pretty easy to identify. But in general, like, it's just unnecessary. It really is. And it makes me sad because I'll always be a huge sports fan. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of good people there who do a lot of great work and really care. But at the end of the day, people make decisions and then they double down, and they've continued to double down. I just think Pat has made them really look differently at things to bring him on in the first place, to allow Stephen A to go on his YouTube. But what are they going to do? Fire Stephen A? No. So Stephen A is
the number one talent.
Correct.
So
Stephen
if they
A
fire
and
Pat
Pat
McAfee, he has the power to literally
he would laugh and he'd be like, fine, I'll take my insanely awesome platform elsewhere and get paid here. And then people are going to leave you. Then you're go back to, because his show took the slot that I used to be in, 12 to 2, noon Eastern. And so like, I guess what would you just go back to SportsCenter? Probably. But at the end of the day, he's like, he knew he had power, and I admire him for that. Stephen A knows he has power. He can say whatever the hell he wants, even if it's something crazy like what happened with he and Jason Whitlock, and he calls him every name in the book. I'm like, what are we doing?
Hold on a second.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we were debating. We were in the car. We were like, do we ask about this? Like, this whole thing is like, okay, it was a small deal, it was a big deal, but like how Stephen A handled that, like the name calling, all this stuff. I just thought,
hold on, to say that it shows so clearly how biased and emotional he was. And I like Stephen A, but to sit there and say this is the worst human being you ever met,
piece of shit,
a piece of shit. Oh, get out of here! You have a personal no.
It just. I thought it was unnecessary. You know what I mean?
So
I'm like, you're
intense.
so much better than that. And I like Jason. I think Jason is a really smart dude, and Jason's a very controversial dude, but he's very smart. Listen, at the end of the day, if someone accused me of doing something that I didn't do, what's the first thing I would do? I'd be
Show
like,
the receipts.
I'd show the receipts. And instead of showing receipts, he just started name calling. So
just a lot of
not
vitriol.
just
a lot of vitriol.
But there's also aggressive. There's also aggressive. There's name calling and saying I think he's an asshole, and they're saying he's the worst human being I ever met. I mean, there's levels to this. But
it's just like, why? Just because someone's critical against you? Literally, if I did that, I would have to like never sleep and be on social media 24/7 to respond to all the hate. Yeah. And to me, now was it public? Yes, but like I've heard it forever. The only person I like twice a year will respond to, not even respond, but like call out in a different way is Olbermann, because he's a douchebag.
What the hell happened?
Well,
with
he's
that
insane,
guy?
and it's actually like clinical. I think it makes me sad for him because I think he was such a great talent. But when you just don't have a life and you're going after me and many other people, oh my gosh, it's fine. My point is like, I just choose to not allow those people into my head. Now, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, would I have? Yeah. But it's really cool to get to the point where you say, go ahead and hate me. Because by the way, if you really cared and wanted to actually help society, because we have these public platforms,
right?
Then you'd have a conversation. You'd ask me on your show. You'd ask me to talk about it. Or you'd say, hey, Sage, like, what the hell did you mean by that? Not one has. And so that goes back to the grow a pair conversation.
Yeah. All right, everybody, want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Ice Shaker Incorporated. For those of you that have been following Mislaibeled, you know that we had Chris Gronkowski on. This is his company. They were on Shark Tank, offered a deal by all 5 sharks. They have sold over 1 million bottles to date. Kitchen grade stainless steel, which does not absorb odor like all plastic bottles do. If you are a workout junkie, this product is for you. Third-party tested, will hold ice for 30 plus hours and keep your drink cold. Additionally, this is customizable for all employers for their employees and can make for a great gift for a friend. Turnaround time on custom bottles is 3 to 5 business days. To reach out to them, you can hit them via email, info@iceshaker.com. That's info@iceshaker.com. Or reach them by phone, 817-329-6478. Again, that's 817-329-6478. A customer rep will direct you to the correct sales department. Now back to our episode. I was thinking about this, I watching a whole bunch of different things. So I guess the best way to describe this, if this doesn't sound weird, but you're like just a very classy, gentle, elegant woman. Yet you're dealing in the big leagues with a lot of big egos, and a lot of male big egos. Where are you getting that? I'm sure you learn quickly that it's cutthroat. Like, you're going to have to punch back at certain times, but you're such a by nature, like you said, you're this
As
shy
you said,
person.
you pleased when you earlier on.
So where did you learn the skill of like punching back? Like,
I don't know that it was one moment. They have built so many times. There's a turning point where you get punched and then you're down. And I remember several as I was coming up in the industry long before ESPN, where it was my dad in particular. My mother's the best. She'd be, my Irish Italian mother, like fire. She got these green eyes and white skin and white hair, and I'm her girl, our only daughter, and she will cut you. And I had to tell her, Mom, take off your Google alerts. Don't read the messages in my social media. Like, she'd come after people. My father would be the one. He'd be like, okay, this is wrong. And he'd be like, okay, what are you gonna do about that? You don't allow them to crush your dreams. You're gonna fight back. You're gonna stand up in a classy way. You don't have to mouth off, but your actions are gonna speak volumes. So you show back up at that job the next day with your head held high, even if you don't feel the confidence inside. And I never felt it inside, but I knew, like, it's on me. If I allow that person, whether it be a peer when I worked in Indianapolis, back in my early local TV days, or at the regional TV network in DC, in Florida, or at ESPN with executives and peers. If I allow those people to get in the way of accomplishing my goals and dreams, that's on me. And so he taught me that. And there were so many tests along the way where I would call and cry and be like, forget it. I'm not cut out for this. These people are mean and they lie, and it's all about advancing themselves instead of realizing that there's actually, I used to say this to some of the women at ESPN. Now that ship has sailed. That's a lost cause with many of the people and women in particular there. It's like, we all have a contract. There's room for all of us. Right. But then they get into comparing and, oh my God, she's making this and I'm sorry, they pay. You're going to say no to that? No, you're not going to say no to that. You would take it too. But at the end of the day, there's room for all of us. And if we are in this together, because this is a really difficult place to be, awesome, but difficult with the pressure cooker that ESPN is, and it's the top, right? And so then it's like backstabbing. And I just chose, thanks to my parents, it's not me. They instilled that in me to be like, okay, I'm not saying it didn't hurt you guys. I can't even tell you.
I was gonna say, was there like a rude awakening at a specific point where you just got so crazy you're like, I can't even believe I'm living in this? Like, that people would like go to this lengths to like backstab?
There was one in particular that.
Are you able to share on that?
Yeah, because it was public. I never, basically in 2020, it was right after George Floyd, and I had found out through peers that two of my co-workers, co-anchors on SportsCenter, went to the bosses and said it was a race and sports special coming off of George Floyd, and that they weren't going to participate if I was part of it. Why? Because I'm not Black enough, basically. I'm not accepted by the real Black community. And I was like, what does that even mean? What is that? But I was devastated because these are all people from the top of the network down to the people I'm referring to who preach diversity and tolerance and acceptance and inclusion and all of those things. But then because I don't fit your narrative, then therefore I'm not welcome to be part of a conversation to heal, because I think all of our perspectives actually matter. And so I found out about it. I talked to the bosses. I talked to the president of the network. I talked to everybody. I was like, what is this? And if this is true, how can you as leaders allow this to happen? And for them to, okay, we're not going to invite her then. Like, I don't know that I was ever even considered to be in it, because I don't think it got that far. They were like putting it together and it's like, yeah, but not her. I was like, what? What is that? And oh, by the way, the big picture of that is like, what are we doing in the Black community where you're only invited in if?
Yeah.
Like, I've been told, do you know how many times I've been told she's uninvited to the barbecue. She is not coming. I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? I'll go get my wings elsewhere. It's fine. But like, what does that mean? What are the levels of Black enough? And is that the way to bring people together? I call bullshit on all of that and all of those people. It is actually divisive. So I went to the bosses and they're like, well, we can't, And I had a conversation with my agent at the time. And there've been a lot of things leading up to that. And I'd been there at that point for 14 years. And I said, and I was just devastated by it. people that I wasn't like best friends with, but like I've been there. I was the old veteran out of all these people, really, no, except one. Jay had been there longer, but like in general, as certainly the longest tenured female of color there by a million years, like I'm overall nice. So like, why? And so my agent was like, this might be your time to say enough's enough. He's like, what do you think? And I thought about it and I'm like, this is it. I knew a lot was going to come with that. And because I'd been contacted by a reporter, because when people went around bragging about the power that they had to get me kicked off or not to be a part of something,
you're like,
word travels.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of friends there. And I heard from several people what had been said. And then guess what? Who knows who they told in the media for me to get a phone call. And so then I got the phone call and it was a decision. Do you just not return it? Do you not talk about this? Or do you say, you know what? It's bigger than me being part of some little show that may or may not make a difference in America and racial tensions. It's another thing for like, what is the big picture of I'm not enough? If I believed a different way, you'd love me. I'd be part of your crew and we'd be like fighting the world together. And that was where I decided I'm going to answer this reporter and I'm going to issue a statement and I'm going to call people out.
Love that.
And it was, you guys, it was so scary. And I knew that was 2020. And that was the beginning, because when you answer questions from a reporter who'd been tipped off,
right?
Even though my bosses knew that I was livid and hurt by the principle of it, I knew it was a risk, but it was one I was willing to take because I knew that I wouldn't be the last one to experience this. And what does that say? You're not black enough?
It's crazy.
I will say there's some PTSD from my whole life not being enough because of being biracial, and you're not enough. And then my husband at the time, I'm no longer married, but he was white. So then I guess I was divorced at that point too. But in general, I was judged by, well, look at her. She's a sellout over here. And I'm like,
right.
Hey, I thought we all were love and diversity and tolerance. So that was a turning point.
It's like such the opposite of inclusion. It's literally like you're taking the idea of inclusion and you're the complete opposite.
Inclusion, yeah. It's not inclusion, yeah.
I'm still working on it. Because there's a lot of things that built up that I had to ignore to keep going to work every day. So now I've been away for 8 months, and it's like, and now I have something that I was able to announce finally about my new show, and it's like, okay, I haven't dealt with any of these things for years because I just had to keep pushing forward to go to work and be on live national TV for 2 hours every day. I loved it. It was good to compartmentalize, and I was good at compartmentalizing. I didn't know how good I was at it until I stepped away, and it's like, how did I have an active lawsuit and fight all these things and do all of that while being on a live show? Like, I don't know.
Let me ask you, do you have, with everything that's gone on, right? Do you have like PTSD and like fear of, as you're talking on something like this or on ear, that you're going to say something like it's so built in that you have to just watch what you're going to say, that now you're just living in anxiety of when you're talking? Like,
I think a lot about it.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I am very aware of everything I'm saying. Everything.
You are? Yeah. Okay.
Because I've had to be for so long, and now it's like, and I know what comes with it. I know what comes with talking about certain people and certain names and certain situations. But
is it too much to not be in the present then? Like, how do you balance that? Like, you're self-aware of everything that you're saying.
Very aware. But it's not like it's intentional. I just know that with everything you say, when you're kind of a lightning rod, that it's a little bit of a risk. But I'm telling the truth. And so when you tell the truth about things, even if it's painful or even if it's like pointing people out, then I don't have a fear. And the most important thing is, number one, I don't know. Maybe there are gonna be people or executives or networks or whoever who come after me because I'm being really honest right now and saying things a lot of people didn't want me to ever say publicly. But most importantly, it's taken a long time to be okay with not being liked.
Yeah.
And that's deep. And that's where I need another glass of wine, because I'm like, oh gosh, it hurts. It fucking hurts. It hurts. But there's more important things than being liked. It just took me a long time to realize it. And I know that, like, at the end of the day, I'm so loyal to a fault. And it'll be, I don't know, I was a good teammate and a good friend. And so at the end of the day, if they the truth hurts. And now it's cool to no longer be afraid to tell the truth. But the one thing I'm afraid of is that people think it's, oh, she's just trying to like, woe is me and make money. I'm not, am I making money off of this stuff? Anything?
You're extremely authentic. There's no
I
question
just
about
know that like, there's so many people who feel like they're not enough. Right. There's so many people who feel like they have to be quiet because of their opinions and what they believe. And I'm like, I lived with that for so long. And through these last few years of all the cancellations, the number of awesome emails and DMs I've gotten from people in different countries who I'll never meet or in the industry who are like, thank you, don't stop, please, you're speaking for me. That's the cool part, is this is so much bigger than me. Like, I'm on the outside now. And I feel blessed that I pushed through it and made sure that I would be able to speak now. Because what's the point of standing up for yourself and others if then you have to be silent about it?
Right.
I'm like, hell no, I'm talking about it because I know what it feels like to be quiet and to be afraid to be yourself and to stay in the good graces of your bosses and your quote unquote friends. My friend group, guys, is like so much smaller.
Well,
right.
You've mentioned a couple of times, which is very interesting to me, that you never felt confident, but you just pushed through it anyways. I feel like that's such an important lesson, actually, that I don't want to get overlooked in this, that for a lot of times people won't do things till they feel confident. They don't want to go forward because I need to feel confident. If I don't feel confident, then I'm not going to do it. Or in their mind, they know they could do it, but the confidence comes and goes. But it seems like what you're saying, and tell me if I'm not wrong, that there were many times you didn't have the confidence, but yet you put one foot in front of the other. Accurate?
Yeah. That's why I get frustrated with people who live in fear now.
Talk to me.
Even if it's my kids. I'm like, yep, it's legitimate fear. Now what? You gonna let that win? Because I did it for a long time. I let that win. I let people win. I let those fears take over.
It sounds like.
But then if I look back, I'm like, oh wow, I pushed through it then,
right.
and again, and again, and again. Every week to get on that plane to go to NBA Countdown, knowing that I was not liked for reasons I felt were not even accurate. But no one, then I tried to talk about it with some of the producers and they couldn't answer me, like why they didn't like me. Like, well, and I look back now and I have some ideas, and women are awful to each other. And there's a whole world there, as we know. And I'm like, wait, what? But so it took hindsight. It took being canceled and beaten up to look back and go, okay, every single time you still showed up, you still smiled. Most importantly, I always treated people well. And whether it was my coworkers, my bosses, or the janitors, because that's how I was raised, you know what I mean? So I get frustrated when people are afraid. Not that I don't have empathy, because I feel it, but that's on you then if you regret not trying someday. Every day for 16 months. I got back from the suspension, and 6 months later is when I filed the lawsuit, something I never dreamt of doing. And every single day for 16 months, with an active lawsuit that was very public, knowing that my bosses officially hated me then, and my coworkers and other people, some, not all, many were like, you go girl, quietly.
I was going to say privately, were there a lot of people behind you?
Or a handful. This is during COVID times too, where we were never back at full staff, so I didn't get to see everybody, and it was like I was writing from home upstairs while I'm getting my makeup done, whatever. But I don't know, I pushed every day. I'll say this, the moment I got off suspension and went to work that first day, my parents actually came here to lift me off the ground, because I was like, I can't do this. After saying what I said about the shot in particular, then I got COVID really, really bad. Like, it was not good. So the irony of, got to get this shot and you're going to be fine. And now look at me, I'm on the floor about to drive myself to the hospital because of my heart and all the things that were happening after the shot. And then I got super canceled, and then I'm like, I have nothing. My kids couldn't be here because I was sick. My parents came up because they're my parents. It doesn't matter if you're 50, they're still you're still their kid. Yeah. And my dad has 2 kinds of cancer, and they shouldn't have been around me. And they came because I'm their kid, and they lifted me off the ground, and they stayed until I was allowed to go back to work.
Wow.
And as I was leaving that day to go to work, like scared shitless, because I was told by my bosses how everybody hated me. Not in those words, but you know, okay, And my dad, the former college football player, and my mom and Tiffany, my best friend and makeup artist, my dad's like, huddle up. So football huddle, just like when I was raised, come on guys. And he said, prayers. And he's like, we're going to pray and you're going to walk in there with strength. And so we said a couple prayers in particular. And then every single day from that day on, I drive to ESPN. My parents were living in Pennsylvania. And I'd call them when I pulled into the parking lot. And as I'm putting on extra mascara, I'd call my mommy and daddy. And we would do a group call. And we would say these prayers so that I would walk in there feeling protected and have this strength, because the prayer was St. Michael the Archangel in the Catholic Church. And it's
Did you grow up religious?
Catholic.
Catholic, you did.
Yeah. I'm more religious now than I grew up in it, in the church, but when you're older, then it's a choice, and then you choose to learn more, and I have. But so with St. Michael the Archangel, protect us from the wickedness and snares of the devil, rebuke him, like all these things where I would walk in after saying a prayer in my car in the parking lot, feeling like I could do it, pushing through the fear and taking all the fear and knowing that my bosses who didn't have a choice, they had to, my face was still on that TV screen every day. And I'm sure they, from the top down, Disney all the way down, hated it. But I did my job with a smile, put those fears and frustrations and sadness back here. Yeah. And I feel like it's the best work I've ever done in my career during the scariest time. Yes. And I don't know why. I think I just realized every day I pushed through the fear and I was like, I can do this. I can do this in my sleep. Yeah. I can rock this because I've done it with babies, with an ongoing divorce, with cancellations, with all the things. I'm like, dude, I got this. And so from that day, nothing, bring it. From that day till my very last day on the air in 2023, July, because I went on vacation and then came back to the mediation and that was it. I loved it. And I know that I feel I made that show better. I had the best co-host in Matt Berry. We had a blast, right? But it was a lot of work and hard work. And I am so proud, I think, of that time to not let my emotions come through on the air or in the production side, because we write almost all of our scripts. Like what you saw us say, I wrote, we write.
You were just a true professional.
Hell yeah. That's how I was raised. And if you ever thought I was going to crack from it.
Not a chance.
No, but I didn't know my strength till I was in it. Yeah. And now I look back and I'm like, who wants me? Yeah. Bring it. Like I will never back down, but I will do it in a kind way and a professional way because that's who I am. And that's how I was raised.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So funny. Going back to the beginning, I think at the beginning of the conversation, you were talking a little bit about just women at ESPN and how hard it was in that industry where it's male-dominated industry. So I want to get your perspective on the idea of pushing certain narratives. Let's say it is, right, feminism goes all the way to the aspect of like just push women, regardless of, talent level or things or other things of nature. But where do you stand on like, okay, we need to stand up for each other and have like a women contingency in the ESPN headquarters in a certain way, but at the same time, be graded and be, viewed based on our talent, regardless of whether we're women or men, right? So it's like, where do you see kind of
I think
that
we've come
balance?
such a long way. I mean, look at how many women are on ESPN. Look at how many women are on networks across the country and world in sports and all the streaming sites. Like the platforms for women are endless.
Is that based on merit?
That's my question. My question is, where is the pushing how much women is on these networks, right? As much is it for merit purposes, or is it pushing that like we need the 50-50 equality, like and where is that
probably
balance?
A little bit of everything.
And where is that balance? Like where do you see that balance? Is really my question.
I don't know that there is balance. Balance makes it sound like it's equal and perfect, and I don't think that exists in anything.
Let me ask you, do you think that a lot of the sexist like concepts that are being pushed from a political standpoint about like how, men have everything women don't, or men don't treat women well at all, do you think that's while it obviously exists to a degree, I'm sure a large degree, do you feel that that's a focus that is pushed as a distraction to women that are not actually empowering other women? Like, maybe we should be equally as focused about women that are not taking Sage Steele's back when they should have them, but instead are backstabbing her. But instead, let's distract from that and focus on the fact that men don't treat women well or some other thing.
I don't know. The most supportive people I've had in my entire career were men.
Really?
Granted, there were a lot more of them, especially early on, you know. But I think at many of these networks, they're pitted against each other, women, because you're still in a man's world in sports. But then they choose to do it too. And I think that ship has sailed, at least at ESPN, with, and the women, we're going to bond together for this. But like, I heard all those conversations behind the scenes too, in the makeup room. And it's like, stop.
Yeah.
But it's management does do that in many ways, intentionally, maybe not, I don't know. But it certainly is not what I learned, certainly not a genuine support system. You're going to show up at your charity events and you're going to show up here and there and we're going to take Instagram pictures together. But when it comes down to it, and by the way, I never, ever, ever, ever expected anyone to publicly have my back, ever, because that would put them at risk. Right. And I understood that. I understood what it was like. I stopped asking some of my friends, like, if you're just out, I'm like, oh my God, we're getting drinks over here, Instagram photo, like for a story. I stopped asking everyone. I never said that to them, but I just stopped because I thought to myself, what if I know they love me, but what if they're not comfortable with being seen with me publicly? And so I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to do stories with my co-host, Matt Berry, anymore. And I never even told him that. I just tried to take myself out. And I know I didn't want them to be at risk for being my friend. And that's so sad, right? It is. But with the women,
Let me ask you.
Because everyone knows, and then there's bitterness based on your salary gets out, and they all knew mine, and they thought they did, and then they found out the real, and then they hated me more. I was like, actually, if you think it's that, great, but like, it's okay. I just feel like, go get it. Go get whatever you can, because guess what? That'll make it better for the next woman who comes along. Like, isn't that what we're supposed to do? And I always hoped, and I used to be told, for example, my hair. No one wore curly hair on TV. If you think back in the day, even in local TV in Cleveland or wherever, every woman, I called it the anchor bob, right? And everybody had the same straight hair. If they didn't have curly hair, they straightened it. And then I just wore, because I can't straighten this. I had babies. I didn't have the time or the strength in my wrist to pull this straight. And I was like, I'm just going to leave it. I don't have time or I don't care. I had bosses who were like, oh, it looks really good on you. Can you just do the straight thing more? I'm like, no, are you going to pay for it? I can't. Now, if you watch TV, it's like curly hair don't care. Let's go. And I love that. I wasn't trying to change the landscape and wear your curly hair natural. It was just
being you.
It's what God, it's all I know what to do with. And 99% of my career, it looked like shit. It looked crazy. It looked like, But guess what? If me wearing that because I didn't know how to do anything different, going with my hair and I've had several curly hair girls come up to me, write me DMs dozens of times saying, I watched you when I was young and now I can be my natural curly hair self because of you. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of cool. Don't we all want it, whether it's hair or just being in the room, don't we all want to help who's next so they don't have to have as many struggles?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a lot of life is there's a pay it forward type of concept where you really, what makes you feel the best, and I think it's biblical, it's in Judaism, in Catholicism, everywhere. It's giving makes you feel the best. It's
so good.
It's just
the goal
selflessness.
is to give to get to
it's not the give to get, but it's just
to uplift others.
It just is as you give. It's just a natural reaction to your body that you feel better, and then it's just a positive. What's it called?
Well, those endorphins that you get almost even just from being hey, by me being me, they felt confident to try it for themselves too.
It's a positive feedback loop. It's just consistent.
Yeah, and we received that too. So yes, we're giving it, but it's full circle where you go, wow, all that struggle was worth it. People, the names that I was called because of my hair through the years, and when social media first started, it was oh my God, I had no idea. So it's all worth it if the next young girl can be herself. It's kind of cool, you know.
Let me ask you, the number one story obviously going on right now goes without saying, Dana White. I mean, you came back and came back with a bang. Or Joe Rogan, I don't know, whoever you were talking. No, but by the way, I was literally that's not such a crazy thing. Why is this going viral?
That's because you don't recognize faces.
No, but hold on. I'm not stupid. I know. But the mistake.
Can you please edit in right now?
That made sense.
How similar they are.
You know they are
100%.
They're like it's not such a crazy.
And they're in
thing.
the same world, like. But
They're heavy masculine guys that are both bald and both white as hell. Like what's
And they're both heavily involved in UFC.
That too.
like they sit near each other. But
Joe,
the beginning of the podcast, if people watch the beginning, like when Dana, I'm like, wait, Joe or Dana? When Dana was coming to sit down, he had this cup in his hand. And I was like, well, come in. I was like, what are you drinking? And he's like, you want a sip? I was like, sure. And he ends up saying, he's like, try it first. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. Try it. I was like, okay. And he's like, it's elk's blood. I'm like, elk's blood? He's like, yeah, Joe Rogan's drink, elk's blood. That was at the beginning.
Supposed to be drinking. Oh, well, Happy Daddy should be drinking, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's
Dana.
part of that kill cliff, I think, is what Joe.
It's like Happy Daddy's with milk, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Elk person. Anyways.
So Dana's like, it's Joe Rogan's elk blood. And I was like, oh, okay. If I drink this, I would look like buff like Joe Rogan. That was at the beginning of the show. My screw up was at the end of the show, an hour and 20 minutes later. But Joe's name had come up a couple times. So it was kind of in my head. I was like, oh my God, she's a sportscaster. She didn't know who was in her chair. I'm like, I booked him. He's my friend. You met my daughter, my youngest. I was like, I called her sister's name this morning.
Yeah, of course.
Like it happens all the time. But let me just tell you how it felt when I realized what I said. I was like, I started sweating because then the reason why it went viral is because his reaction was awesome.
I thought he took it really well. Like some people were saying he took it like Dana was upset. Like no,
I
I
wasn't
looked
sure.
at it.
he
And I'm
was
like, I thought Dana took it
He
amazing.
was laughing and he's like, "You're a jackass." I was like,
I thought he was upset, actually.
No, I knew. I saw it. I'm like, there's no way he was upset. You could see how he was smiling and looking around. Like
she just called me fucking Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I was like, I
He's
totally
a scary
did.
guy. So like,
He is scary.
It's like it's hard to know a guy like that if he's actually pissed or not. It's just like, is he about to go? Is he like actually angry? We're gonna play it cool because we're on camera, or like?
No, I think and then someone told me that at the beginning, right after the drink thing at the very beginning of the show, that I called him Joe then too. And I was like, I did? Like, he didn't catch it because Joe got in my head. Whatever, no excuse. Yeah. No, it's just, I'm saying why, but it's no excuse. And I own.
You're allowed to make a mistake.
also, you have full editorial. I would assume you have full editorial.
I could have
You
taken that
kept
out.
it in.
You posted that clip on
Yes.
purpose. Good for you.
I left it in the show on purpose because, like, if you don't laugh at yourself, like, get over yourself.
I agree
like,
100%.
I am an idiot. Like, I say stupid things, do stupid things, like, trip on camera. Like, I've done it all,
You're
you
human.
guys. So, like, why am I going to hide that? Especially because I thought his reaction was funny. And if you actually watch it, which apparently you have not, hello, watch my show and subscribe. You know the importance. Help me out. Help a girl
subscribe,
out.
boy.
You're better in this space. I'm a rookie. Help a girl out. If you watch the whole thing after that, he's like, actually happens all the time. He told the story about Howie Mandel and how he was at the mall and this guy came up and took a picture and he's like, oh my God, honey, I just got a picture with Howie Mandel. And it was Zena. And
That's a lot worse.
I love
than
how
Joe Rogan.
every ball. They just think. First of all, it's like like they're just like always like you'll go up to like an African American or whatever it is and like, oh, that person, doesn't he look like a basketball player? And it's like all those things.
Right.
It's like, but if you do it to a bunch of bald people, it's totally fine.
Yeah, you're racist if it's like
You're racist
yes.
if you're racist if you go up to a 6'6" guy in the airport and say, "Are you like
play basketball.
Do you play
Why
basketball?"
would you think that?
But
Yeah.
apparently, if you just tell every bald guy that they're another famous bald guy, it's
No,
totally
I'm
okay.
the only one that's done that. That's been stupid enough to do it. So no, but I literally was like, the Howie Mandel thing. So he told me the Howie Mandel story to explain. He's like, it happens all the time. It's fine. And he gave a Howie Mandel story. Swear to God, Dana didn't know that where we were sitting at that moment on my set in LA was in Howie Mandel's studio.
Oh, really?
My set is in Howie's private studio warehouse. And so when he told the story, Howie, I now know, was in the hallway watching the whole thing. My producer, Chris Case, stood up and was like, and went out in the hall, grabbed Howie. And then Howie walks in and Dana was like, what?
That's crazy.
You can't make this up.
trip.
And so when Howie walked in, after I'm still sweating from my mistake, but Dana made me feel better by telling the Howie story. And Howie walks in, Dana's like, what? I get up, I ran off the set. I was like, oh my God. Like, you can't make it up. And so I thought, this is so funny and crazy. I have to leave it in. And then we got done. And then Dana was high-fiving me. He's like, you're hysterical and you better leave that in. I was like, of course. And so Dana and I have gotten like to be even better friends since this whole thing. We'll text like every other day and he'll send me more screenshots of people ripping on me. He's like, this is the best thing ever for your new show, girl.
I was literally going to say, does this not
The
reinforce
viral moment.
Does this not reinforce
tens of millions of views? And it's like, she's so stupid. I'm like,
You're like, I don't care. You just subscribe. You have 10 million people.
Okay, I'm stupid.
Does this
like,
not reinforce your belief of all PR is good PR?
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's not difficult at times.
Yeah, it's difficult to take.
But
I mean, it is all PR is good PR, but like, but getting shed on is not fun.
No, you're right, but those people are fucking idiots. Now, I mean this. I saw this and I was like, everyone's making a big deal over this. Like, okay, like you mixed up someone's name. It's not so crazy to me at all. I'm being honest. I was like, I don't see
I think it was because it was me, and because new show, and she got a new show, and and you know and then your very first show with this huge star who flew in from Las Vegas just for me, and then got back in his plane and flew back. Like, hi, he's not doing that.
Happen. I got you.
He's not. I felt terrible, but he's not doing that for somebody that he didn't like. He knows my heart, and he knows whatever. So the fact that we could totally laugh about it and high five, and he's funny. He's like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah,
he's like, most people would have taken that out and tried to make it all perfect, and I was like, that's the beauty of age. Honestly, I said earlier about not being okay, not being liked. Yeah. That's the beauty of that, where you're like, listen, it doesn't matter if it was the best interview ever. Somebody still would have found a reason to say I suck. And so that's okay. Like, go for it. But at the end of the day, I am the most humble, how I was raised. I take pride in that. And self-deprecating and very self-critical. Like, I beat the crap out of myself. I would have two great hours on SportsCenter, and then I mispronounce one hockey name. Then I'm going home like, oh my God.
Oh, shitty.
Yeah, so you focus on the negative. That wasn't even a negative. It was a mistake that if you don't laugh, you cry. So, like, why would I not laugh at myself, especially if Dana was laughing and high-fiving me afterwards? Like, and then Joe Rogan mentions it, and I was like, oh God. But then people are, I think he was like, you know, you're nervous when you say these things. You're nervous. I was like, I've been on live TV. We talk about NBA Finals and 20 million viewers.
Yeah.
I wasn't nervous. I just screwed up.
Right.
Like, whatever at the end of the show. So I just love Dana for being such a good sport and being so supportive.
I was gonna say, he's also a super loyal guy, people say. So like,
he's so loyal.
Yeah. So
like, once you're in Dana's circle, but also he'll call your ass out. If he doesn't agree with something you've said or done or how someone's handling their business, he will call you out. I draw strength from him. He is a brilliant businessman, and he is someone that is a great example for all of us. It's okay if you're not liked. If you believe in what you're saying and doing, follow Dana White's example. He's like, screw you, screw you, screw you. I believe this is best for me and my fighters and my company.
Right.
Go to hell. I'm like, I love you.
He'll also do it to a fighter, and then like the fighter will like not be in the UFC for 6 months, and then like all of a sudden, they're back. How did they get back? It's like,
how about his decision to partner with Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch again?
When he Peloton on Theo Von, he literally said, I am throwing out every Peloton that day, and then released the video and
guess what?
Chucking him in the garbage.
He did.
I know.
Like, his gym at UFC headquarters in Las Vegas, I was there.
Yeah.
Also, now he's part of the whole Nelk thing, and he'll and Bob Menery is now coming back into the fold. He will completely shat on Bob right in front of his face. Yeah. He'll just tell him straight how it is, and then you'll see him 20 minutes later, they're just playing high stakes blackjack all together.
I love people who are authentic to themselves, because everybody, I want to be around fearless people like Dana White.
Right.
Because most people in my life are afraid of the sunshine. Like, oh my God,
we talk about,
I just can't.
Before you told me that Travis Kelce, are you able to talk about that story?
I don't care.
That he liked, tell him, because he didn't hear the story.
Oh, I got a text yesterday from a friend in the business, a good friend of mine. She's like, did you see this headline? This made me crack up. And it was Travis Kelce liked Sage Steele's Trump post from UFC Miami, which was, from the moment that story came out yesterday to when that happened, that was over a month. Oh my God, Travis Kelce. And I've known Travis Kelce for years, and he liked a post that happened to have Trump in it. And if you look at the caption, it was it was a cool moment. I'd never been to UFC.
Right.
Trump is a huge sports fan. And by the way, if Obama had been there, I would have taken a picture with Obama too and posted it. Any former sitting president, even if I don't like them, what an honor. I think it's kind of cool. And so, I guess he got crushed. And the headline said, Kelce getting crushed by the Swifties. They're melting down because he said he liked a photo that I posted with me and Trump.
But then he unliked it.
I was told he unliked it. I don't know because the pressure, it came for him. And it's like, oh my God, right-wing nut job hurt me. And then he's liking it and that's Trump. And wait, I thought he was a left-wing.
But his girlfriend also happens to be the leftist of the left.
Bro, he unliked the picture. What a freaking, yeah.
I was
straight up.
I was told
what a bitch,
he did.
if I'm being honest. Facts.
I haven't looked.
Let a bunch of 16-year-old Swifties convince him out of something.
As journalists, we need to confirm that he unliked it. I don't know. And at the end of the day, nor do I care. I just think the whole thing is so, my God, you guys get a life. But I remember being at ESPN and an executive pulling me aside and saying, I've noticed that you've been liking some controversial posts lately. Oof. I got talked to about it. I'm like, because I liked something, I didn't retweet it and I didn't respond, but I liked something. Oh, but you can like this, or this employee, but I can't like that. So I call BS. If Travis wants to maybe it's because me and Travis were friends. Maybe that's why he liked it and he sees that I'm out doing my thing now and I don't care about anyone canceling me. But if he did unlike it, I mean, I don't know. Again, I'll just say it's really nice when you don't care what people think about you. And I hope that everybody can get there.
I think it takes life experience. We're definitely we're riding that. He's rode the wave. He's rode the wave.
The funny part is she doesn't know, by the way. She has no background understanding of us at all in our little world.
I don't know where you no longer care what people think, that background? Where you're screw you, grow a pair?
Yeah, I mean, no, our background being our community, the Orthodox community, and our standing and position, and what this podcast is in that particular community speaks a lot to this, which is why we're very much on the same page about a lot of things. Because
and from our conversations, and also just from listening to some of your shows, it's you've
listened. I'm very honored.
Wow.
To what?
one of the most recent ones. Well, with all the young girls.
Oh, you watched that show?
Oh my God.
And I'm I didn't watch all of it. I haven't finished it yet. It takes some time. That's a long one. Isn't that 3 hours?
Well, okay. So if you ask...
That's unbelievable.
And then you had my guy Shane Battier on.
Yeah, of course.
Shane's
the best.
Such a good guy.
Yes, but all your dating advice. I'm okay, these experts. Let me actually see. I'm good God.
What dating advice from that pod?
Oh my God.
Well, you're the way that you're trying to connect everybody, and it's hi, who are you? What's your name?
Oh, that. Okay, well, first of all,
he's here's what had happened was
by far the best part of the
Can you
entire
please
podcast.
bring me that bottle of wine in my kitchen, for God's sake?
Okay.
Because if you're giving, by the way, I'm old and single, and if you're gonna give me dating advice, I need another glass.
Oh, me give you dating advice?
This is gonna be
what not to do.
What not to do.
I don't know if I could give real dating advice.
This is tough. What not to do.
Oof. What not to do. No, I will say this to you. My oldest is 22, and then I have a 20-year-old son, and then an 18-year-old daughter.
First of all, I have to say a couple of things while we're rolling. Yeah, bring it over here. Here.
Thanks. Do you want some?
I'll take some.
So
cheers to some dating advice. Do you want a shot?
Cheers. I mean, I have a little in my glass, but yeah.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna make another. I have a few funny things I've been waiting on this pod to tell you. 1 second.
To help me.
I have a few funny things I've been waiting on this pod to tell you.
I didn't know we were going to get into dating advice.
And you promised me you had a funny story, a Jewish colleague of yours.
Oh, I
you
do.
had a funny story, so I want to hear that as well.
Evan, is that you?
Cheers.
My daughter's what is she doing now? Keep her. Mom, don't talk.
Mom, don't embarrass.
Cheers.
Mom, don't embarrass.
Mom, shut up.
Mom has embarrassed you.
She gave up. I think she quit on me a long time ago. When your children are Mom, do not text him back. Wait an hour.
Yes.
Or they're let me see what you're saying. Oh my God, no. Let me do this. And I'm wait. They're I got it. When your kids are telling you, I was I have no hope. I'm going to die single. But my kids are yeah, you are. If you send that text back.
Well, it does depend what age person you're talking to. If you're talking to someone
I realized
your age, then you could be you because they're coming from the same world.
I realized these youngsters, you guys.
Yeah, so
my
Are you an
dating
old
advice,
soul?
I'm a rule of not playing the game ever. That is my rule. But
wait, so that means from my perspective, okay, if I want to text back as soon as I receive it, I don't wait the hour.
Someone likes you, they'll like you. That is my rule.
Yes and no.
99% of the time. if someone else is playing the game, if someone else is playing the game, then you'll play it back at them, but only to a certain extent. If you're starting to play it back at them where you're not being yourself, I'm against it. If you're playing it back at them and just so you can get a little bit like back in your court, back like where you feel yourself, fine. But if you're playing the game just to play the game because they're playing the game, I don't.
Can I just say a very? I'm going to break it down.
It's hard to like.
It's very hard to learn.
So I'm going to break it down very simply. But
okay, go.
Okay. In the beginning of the number one thing you don't want to give off immediately from in my opinion, a healthy place is desperation. Because someone who's desperate is lacking in self-esteem. Okay, but you're worthy, so you don't need to be desperate. So if right away you meet someone and immediately there's a response on the first back and forth initial text messages in the first 5 hours, and you're responding ASAP, that shows a level of desperation, which just conveys to someone who doesn't know you.
Desperation or interest?
Right.
So it depends how it comes across. So that's something that you need to feel out.
So if you text me,
it's intuition.
If you text me and I'm like into you, like, wouldn't it make you like, oh, cool, if she writes back within 10 minutes? Like, isn't that like...
That's why I say, if a person is into you, they're into you. I do not think that if a person is into you, I'm a believer, they're into you. They will not get into you because you are being very interested. On the opposite end of it, though, if you don't have that initial connection, it's not initial like major interest, and you're trying to cultivate something like slowly, like let's say you go on an okay first date, right? Or okay, it's fine, whatever. That's when like I can understand playing the game, because like if you show too much interest, it's like, but that person wasn't feeling it so much, I wasn't feeling it so much.
The truth is,
I don't do it for the game playing. I don't do it for the game playing. Like, or in general, I don't believe in the game playing. Like to wait an hour just to make someone wait an hour so they can see that you're not desperate.
That you're busy.
That's bullshit.
That's asinine, as Stephen A. would say.
Blasphemous.
Asinine, blasphemous.
Look, it's just the point that I was just saying is that.
And you guys, by the way, I just want to say this: the girls are the worst
when it comes to this.
100%. Like they are the culprit. They are the culprit of this game.
I agree.
If it was up to men would be
direct,
and
men want to be direct.
Correct, 100%.
I think
the age thing comes in there.
I don't know. My thing is just be a normal person at the end of the day. Obviously, if you have interest, I'm just saying, if you're off the bat, the second that you meet someone via text and you're just moving too quickly, then it just conveys an unnatural feeling. Just be natural about it. Just be normal.
Yeah, you don't want to be...
And if you're normal and you're natural about it, obviously as things progress, you grow more interest, just like it should normally go in life. Like,
do you know my best friend, my Jewish best friend that I told you about from college, the embarrassing story I have to tell you later. She when she was dating, and she's now engaged, she had a 30-minute rule. So she would go, I don't know which app she was on, a dating app, and then she'd meet up with these guys at a restaurant and have a drink or a coffee or whatever. And 30 minutes. She's like, if I don't feel something in 30 minutes, I'm out.
That's fine.
And she would tell them, she'd be like, listen, we have 30 minutes. And they'd be like, what? She's like, yeah, I don't want to waste your time or mine if I don't feel something. So thank you so much for the drink. It's been great, and I wish you luck. And I'm like, whoa.
But as a person that grew up in a whole different era, 80s, 90s, whatever, like, don't you feel like that's like a little disposable? Like in the dating, like in the dating scene, like, don't you want to like in a certain way be courted a little bit? You want it to be, you want it to something that does grow into something and like be worked on, not something that I need to feel initial chemistry within 30 seconds, 30 minutes.
Yes, that's what I would say to her. I was like, well, wait, maybe he's a little bit nervous. Like,
right.
Because he thinks you're beautiful.
So it just, honestly, it just takes intuition.
I always
trust your gut.
It does.
That's the best dating advice I can give you.
Trust
your
gut,
and I am single, 30, and have no prospects at the moment. Trust your gut. Shmueli Ward says trust your gut.
But I do think that matters. Like when you have kids and when you're my age, it's weird because people don't think you're single and they just assume. And then it's not like I announce anything. And I've been divorced for a long time now. And it sucked. And then you have children, so you have to be careful, like what you say. But it's not. I went on Raya for a minute because I'm like, okay, I can't go on like, what are they? I mean, Tinder, Bumble. I can't like go and then I'd be like, oh, isn't that girl from TV?
I was gonna say,
and like
that would be unbelievable if
I would
just on
say-
like Hinge, and all of a sudden, like, it's like, Sage Steele has left you. That would be the most amazing thing ever.
Oh my God. Well, I was like, so how I can't exactly go on those. And so I went on Raya, and then I was like, oh gosh, if I hurt them, I was like, oh, and then I put it down and run away. Like, cause then there's rejection. What if they don't hurt like you back?
There you go.
And I did a couple, and then no response. I was like, I'm out. I can't do it. They don't like me.
It's a very tough game out there.
Or, oh my God, they believe what they've read. And then I'm immediately over here. One guy, I actually was
You're
like,
the coolest person in the world.
Hello,
I don't understand
obviously.
this.
No, there was
I'm
one
not
guy
joking.
who-
I don't get any. I'm just being honest. I don't care. I'm gonna set you up with a few of my older divorced friends that I know. I don't know, man.
why do they have to be older? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean,
Depends.
you want to date a 30-year-old?
That's not a no. That's not the energy. That is not a no.
I'm not. Listen,
You want to
I'm
feel
not.
young? That's the answer.
I'm not afraid because, like, I have a younger vibe anyway, and I need somebody like. Let's travel. Let's work out. Let's do all these things.
Shmueli,
As
get
the kids
involved.
would say, Sage is in her cougar era.
Hell yeah! My daughter would die. There was one younger. I've only dated two people this whole. I've been divorced for 4.5 years. There's only one younger out of the two that I've dated.
You've only dated 2 people?
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, I'm not just saying this like for whatever. I swear to God, I literally don't get asked, and I'm not being weird because I think people think that like
Too scared. That's actually probably what it is.
I don't know. It's that. It's.
Do you know what Dave Portnoy said about you? He said you are one of the top 50 most beautiful women that he's ever seen. Dave Portnoy.
You see her eyes? Her
I
eyes is
swear.
red.
That's Dave fucking Portnoy saying that. And
I
let me
love
tell
Dave
you-
Portnoy.
Dave.
I love him.
Dave, I'm going to text
Dave.
you after this. We're setting this one up.
Oh God.
Dave and Sage.
We're setting this up
Done.
right now.
Okay, I don't know that I'm Dave's type. I don't
Sage
know.
Portnoy
He called
sounds
you the top 50th
amazing.
Wait,
most
how
beautiful
old is
women.
Dave?
45.
That's not much younger than me. I need younger than that. No, I'm kidding.
But he's a
No.
lively guy.
Oh, he's fun.
He's fun.
He's fun. Miss Peaches.
Miss Peaches, I mean.
And you
My-
won't be bored. You will not be
Oh,
bored.
I
with
would
him.
not be bored.
I can assure
My
you.
daughter might actually like me if I started to date Dave Portnoy.
I like the sound of Sage Portnoy.
Oh my God!
I
No,
like it.
you know what? No, it would be Dave Steele.
Dave Steele. Ooh.
Or you know what? He could hyphenate Portnoy Steele.
I'm just being honest. He literally said this. This is not an
Well,
exaggeration.
first of all, I've met him real quick 3 times.
Really?
I saw him at Final Four in Phoenix a minute ago. I saw him. I sat next to him at UFC.
Just now?
Miami. So beginning of March. Love him, and he was with his crew.
Bossy.
The Boston Boys, which I love those guys. Hysterical and funny and talented, super talented. And then I met him for a hot minute, Super Bowl Phoenix last year, so 2023. And I saw him at a steakhouse, and we'd never met. And I was like, Dave, how are you? And he looks at me like I'm crazy. He's like, hey. I'm like, okay, never mind. Sorry. But I like people like him who have balls, who don't
he's got
care, who
balls.
have courage, who stand up for what's right. He's raising over $1 million now for the police
the-
officer
yeah,
who was
yeah.
killed. And during COVID, I donated to his
His
you
small
did.
business thing?
yes, I
He
donated
raised
money
40,
to that.
$50 million bucks.
Yes,
Unbelievable.
because I thought that somebody's doing that, and it's not
was
political.
He's a good guy.
That was
doing the
probably
right
the greatest.
thing.
Dave is a good guy.
That was
He
probably
just
the
wants-
greatest thing that
is.
happened on the pizza reviews was when the guy, he had a pizza review where a guy told him not to rate his pizza because the guy rated it. He's like, I hate you, blah, blah, blah. He's like, you're terrible. He's like, I've raised $50 million for small businesses. Also get a bigger t-shirt.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That whole thing.
So
I was,
good. But he's so classy, and he doesn't care. And I just think he's actually a lot more than this like boisterous, like confrontational
type.
I think
People
there's a
want
lot.
to be
realize
after.
he's a business, like
He's brilliant.
so much
Yeah, he's very
smarter.
He's brilliant.
Everything he's doing
Yes.
in a certain level is calculated. Like he knows what he's
100%.
doing.
And he just goes with it. He doesn't care. He's okay being disliked. I just think that most people believe, and then at my age, right, that, oh, she's whatever and she's not interested. I married my first boyfriend. I was 20 when I met him. I was 47 when I got divorced. Like, so that's your whole adult life for only knowing one thing in one way and everything. Everything.
Yeah.
So then to start over at 47, 48 in a pandemic with 3 kids who aren't little, so then they see everything and social media. So I've never known how to do it.
It's a new world.
It's a new world. And it's a scary world. And then how do I trust people? Do they like me for me? Cause I'm like fun and a good person, or do they like me because of whatever my career was or wasn't or is? And so I don't know how to trust. And so then I'm like, never mind. And then I suck at it in general. And then if I like someone, I'm going to respond because I feel 100%. Like, why not? But then is it desperate? So
no, it's not.
I just don't do any of it now. And I figure, no, but I feel like at some point
we have to have access to whatever messages are going on, and we'll help you out. That's it. Done.
I'm going to screenshot and be like, what do I say? Right?
Correct.
Like my kids. No, but I honestly, and this sounds cheesy, okay?
The Mislaibeled boys will have Sage Steele married for the next 18 months.
100%.
18 months, I don't know if it needs to be married. I don't know about that. But just in general,
we'll have you in a committed relationship in the next 18 months.
Dave Portnoy is going, we're making this
happen.
Shut up.
Shut up. I don't know. Here's what I'm going to say. And this is going to sound super cheesy, but it's where I am right now. I believe, and we all share a faith, right? Mm-hmm. I believe that when God wants somebody to come in my life, he's going to present it, and I won't have any questions and be like, oh my God, does he like me? Oh my God, why didn't he write me back? Oh my God. Like, that is so annoying, and it makes you insecure. It makes you go, what's wrong with me? Did I say too much? Was I too hyper? Yourself, Is my hair too big? Like, and by the way, if it is, like, get a life, grow a pair, like whatever. I realized if someone isn't, and by the way, the one guy that I dated for like a year and a half, really, really, really liked him. And he was in the sports industry, I'll say that, but not an athlete. Hell no, not an athlete. But like I realized was uncomfortable with going in public with me, with being around his coworkers who again and he was in the NBA, because I was controversial.
I have something similar to that, actually. I'm not even kidding with you. I just had that recently.
Really?
Yes.
Sucks, doesn't it?
Beyond. Absolutely. Sucks.
You have to say to yourself, and I hope you did, and I'm gonna ask you this question.
Yeah, please.
Well, like, I was like, I get it. I'm controversial. I don't want to affect your potential trajectory because I hope that you get to your goals. I'm oh my God, I'm the biggest cheerleader. I'll do whatever it takes. I want you to win. I want whoever I love to go be the best damn person and like go for it and push through those, like all the things. But I realized I was making myself smaller. So for him, because I didn't want him to not get something because of his controversial girlfriend. So for the first 9 months of the relationship, I was like, no, I won't come around, just go. I'm like, wait, what? I realized if someone really loves me, then they're gonna be like, hell yeah, this is my girl who's stronger than all you MFers and be okay. Excuse my language, I'm sorry, Mom. But like
I dropped 9 F-bombs on this podcast.
Well, but to be
I actually
proud.
haven't at all during this thing, only just because my dad, when I was home in Cleveland, he's like, they call me Shmoo because my Hebrew name is Shmueli. He's like, you got so good about it for like a certain amount of podcasts, like not cursing. He's like, you can stop a little bit. Like, you're getting a little bit too out of hand.
Somewhere in the middle, some happy medium, right?
So I think like during this podcast, I said shat a couple times, but I've kept the F-bombs down. I've kept the F-bombs down.
Wait, what is
shat? Is like the past tense of shit, yeah.
Past tense of
I'm sorry, Ta.
Like
sorry, Dad.
I took a shad?
Yeah,
that, like that?
took a shat.
I shat on that person, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah.
Past tense of shit. Anyway, I just think that whether it's men or women, if that person isn't proud to have you on their arm, to walk into a room with you, to say, yeah, I love him, regardless of what his politics are or what he stands for, because I know this part or her, then if that person isn't proud to be with you, they're not your person. That means that they don't have it in them to stand tall for whatever. And oh, by the way, later down the line, to protect you and to stand up for you, and vice versa. It goes both ways for us, like supporting you. And so I realized the hard way that if they don't want to love you out loud, they're not for you.
Yeah,
it just took me a long time through marriage and through that one relationship that I had. Woohoo. And I wish him well. And I really...
You're not even that controversial. That's the weird part.
Apparently I am.
No, you're not.
I mean, to you, but to the rest of the world, like, not controversial to us, but like...
No, that's not even... No. You're
arguing with the world.
Not fully. No. You're a
It's like saying Dave's not controversial.
No, but she, hold on. But with all due respect, she's not Dave. She's not making a ruckus every
Oh my God, I'm not.
No, she's not.
No,
correct.
you're more of a conservative leaning person.
Which is controversial because of my skin color.
But that's stupidity. That's not controversial.
That's when I say
correct.
goodbye.
It's like,
correct.
Your opinions are not outside the line of any single 45%.
It's common sense. I try to be common sense with whether it's transgender sports, whether it's politics in general. And if you like Trump and I don't, I can't. Well, but just in general, like when someone is not confident enough to say, you're my person, like, did that affect, like it affected me. And then I got smaller to make him feel better. And that's like, so how did you handle that?
I found myself being understanding to the person while having a lot of people in my ear saying not to be understanding. Like, not to be understanding, but to be like, I want to be a little careful with what I say here. And I'm never fucking careful with what I say. Let me be very, 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 very
As he
clear.
says, drops an F-bomb. I'm never fucking careful.
I am not careful with what I say here in this case. So I really care about this person. I really, really do.
Yeah.
Most of the people around me, my friends, whatever, were very much like in agreement with you, like totally in agreement with you. I was very much like, and maybe this is my own issue, that I totally get where this person is coming from 100%. And I can understand how difficult, especially given, just to clarify, and not that this is any different than your scenario, I don't know. I was just more like, given my understanding of the community that I'm in specifically, in the Orthodox Jewish world. And I kind of feel stupid saying that because Sage Steele is known on a grand
No. It's a we.
But in this little world of ours where everyone is, we both, and I don't want to.
Everyone knows everything.
But let me finish. But specifically where I'm not going to include you in saying you're the pariah, but I definitely am. For sure.
I'm 50% the pariah. I took this because I get to play good cop, bad cop.
I'm just saying.
And your dad's like, thank God. He's
correct.
No, I'm saying this is a very out there podcast for a community that has very, very much tighter guidelines. And
it is.
I tell people that this podcast is like, I think it's called condensation. Is that what it's called? Where you fill something up and the water drips like holds on.
Yeah.
So we hold on. We don't drip over the side of the cup.
It's close.
But we definitely.
Sometimes we do, but when we do it right.
Then you bring it back in.
We do it right. We clean it up and we put it right back in.
Exactly. Yeah.
I do not apologize when there's drip stones.
Correct. There's no apologies. By the way, there's no apologies.
No.
There's only we have a napkin and we can always clean it up,
But
and it will happen again.
It absolutely, probably in 5 minutes.
Correct.
But it's organic and it's true.
So I've had co-hosts to walk out. I mean, like, I don't know if you saw the girls' pod. Remember the girls' pod that you were saying you watched? So there was a different co-host there. It wasn't it. It was someone else.
Oh, and I was listening, not watching.
Oh, you weren't watching. Okay, so it was someone else.
Because I do it when I'm like doing dishes, doing laundry, working out. So I don't watch as much as I need to.
People are just scared. Like, they don't want the heat, And if they're with me, I'm going to say something controversial every single month. And there's going to be a blow up that, oh my God, how could he have said something? It's like everyone's saying the same shit behind closed doors. It's not like I'm saying anything new.
Right.
Everyone says the same
just whatever,
crap behind closed doors.
Yes, whether it's the language or whatever.
You walk into synagogue.
Anything.
You walk into synagogue and you got to deal with it. For me, I'm like, sorry, you don't like what I have to say. People tell me all the time, I'm like, I'm very sorry you're hurt by that. Like, that's what I respond.
Can I use that?
Please,
I'm not
sorry I said it.
There's a big. My daughter says
I'm
that
not
to me
sorry I
sometimes.
said it.
I'm sorry you took it that way, Mom. I'm like, get over here. Good luck paying for your car insurance this month, because yeah. So I just think it's being okay with being alone until the right person comes who fully will celebrate you and who's willing to receive you celebrating them.
I totally hear that. I have a gift for you.
It's a lot.
That I brought for you.
What'd you bring me?
First of all, I just want to say I'm loving this. So I can say
I love it.
I could
It's
have been amazing. The past 35 minutes has been my favorite. I've done probably 50 podcasts to 60 at this point.
Oh my God.
I have
never given
someone compare you.
Thank you.
Older than me dating advice.
My good friend.
I'm like asking for help from you guys. Oh my God, I can't. It's so sad.
My good friend, I have a present for you. You don't even know about, and you still owe me a story, but we're gonna get to the story in a second. But my good friend, Adam, I saw you were on the PPD show. First of all, he compared you to Candace Owens. I'm sorry. I love Adam, but fucking horrific take. Not even
Fucking horrific.
You tell Adam, I was like, really?
And
Horrific take.
And I'll tell you why. Candace is at best willing to deal with Jews. I'm not like one of those people that right away. You then said 1 minute later or 1 minute before this about how you're, first of all, you're busy telling me you have Jewish best friends. And you mentioned on that pod, I listened for someone sent it to me, that you used to give the janitor Jewish
Rugula.
Okay.
Did you bring me some?
I brought you the
Oh
best.
my God!
I brought you the best rugula.
No way.
The best. The best.
I'm so happy.
In New York. In New
I'm
York.
so excited.
So which ones do you normally have? Do you have
Vanilla,
Cinnamon.
chocolate, or cinnamon?
you're a cinnamon person?
Cinnamon.
Have you ever tasted the vanilla?
I've never had vanilla or chocolate.
These are the greatest.
Oh my God.
I want you to taste the vanilla. Taste whichever one you want.
I'm going to have all of them right now.
And in honor of Dave Portnoy, though, we got to get a 1 to 10
Stop.
rating over here.
Correct.
Oh my God, I'm so happy.
These are the best ones in New
I'm
York.
so
though.
glad I
The
worked
best.
out today.
By far the best.
Wait, where are they
Allen's?
from?
Yeah, these are Allen's.
Allen's.
Allen?
These
We
are
just
very
gave a shout out to Allen.
I love
Allen. We
I-
expect, by the way, free challah every Shabbos now. For
I
this.
love Cleveland boy over here. Allen's.
Cleveland boy.
Oh my God, I didn't know they
And
came
you
in
know
chocolate.
how to make a bracha also, you told me before.
What?
You know how to make a blessing. You were saying Baruch.
Baruch Atah Adonai. Like, that's all I know. That's all I remember.
That's pretty good.
No, but so my Jewish best friend, I'm more Jewish than she is. Like she's one of those high holiday synagogue. I'm like, when's the last time you've been?
Than me.
Oh my God. But what is that? The majority of my Jewish friends literally don't practice anything except for high holidays, max.
Oh, really?
Why?
Yeah, no, you're dealing with very intense people here.
Yeah. No, we grew up
I'm joking,
Orthodox.
but I'm
Like we went to like all male high schools.
Oh,
like,
wait,
with,
but
like,
now?
Yeah, but now we
Still
chilling.
Orthodox.
But now we chilling.
Chilling more than I chill. But
Yeah, well, you don't
still
wear.
wear the kippah, yeah.
I wear it. I do. I just also have a hat. I don't wear it. If you wear a hat, you're fine.
She didn't
Yeah,
know.
that's a cop out. It's like a cop out. So I'm gonna start.
Yeah, please.
Is that okay?
Yes. No, it's
So
totally okay.
this is vanilla. This is cinnamon. This is chocolate. I didn't know they came in chocolate.
I
didn't know that was
chocolate is the go-to default.
Chocolate's my life.
So good, then go chocolate.
Then go chocolate.
No, like every night of my life, I have to have dessert. Like it's a problem. I will if I
You're
if I
like
fall
one of those
asleep,
people with
I
a dark
wake up at
chocolate
midnight.
bar?
All of the everything. Like it really is holding me back from my
They
greatness.
say that and wine is actually very good for you. Like
That's
a
what they
piece of
say,
dark
like a red
chocolate
apple.
night, yeah.
Yeah, well, but if you have like
You have, like,
6
12
Reese's
pieces.
peanut butter cups, then what? And so this will be gone. I'm gonna send you guys a picture tonight when it's all gone.
I was gonna say, I think I'm gonna send you a weekly just delivery, a
Weekly
subscription,
delivery of
subscription
arugula.
service from Allen's.
I'm so happy, and I won't date anybody who doesn't like dessert.
Rugula. Forget about dessert. If they don't like rugula, done.
I
Game
cannot
over.
believe you heard that. Whoever sent that to you, thank you, because I made lemons. I'm like really good baker.
Let me do one thing. I know
Lemon
this sounds
squares,
crazy.
and then I'm like lemon squares for arugula. Even high five.
I want to do one. I want to do one thing. I know this sounds absolutely crazy.
I'll make you some.
So how are they? Give me. What's the rating on these?
I'm so happy right now.
Really now?
I have to have one of each.
You gave your Jewish janitor rugula?
No, he made it for me.
You would make them.
I made him my lemon squares.
Got it.
Freaking love lemon.
Here's the key. You want to know the key?
Love lemon.
Lemon squares. So you make so it's a whole process.
I'm not
it's
making
the only. I'm telling you why you will love mine.
Taste one. I actually want to taste one. The
Go for it.
vanilla
Oh
ones.
my
I'm a
God. I'll give you
vanilla person.
permission. I will
No,
share
I'm a
with you.
vanilla person. Specifically.
Here, pass them around.
Do you want?
Yeah, give me a.
Wait,
give me
I
a
needed my
vanilla
second
or
now.
The vanillas are the best. I'm telling you right now.
Give me vanilla or cinnamon.
We're having what's called.
I think the only reason I had
tish.
friends is because of my lemon squares. So the crust, like it's all from scratch. The crust is butter and like confectioner sugar and all that, and you bake that first. Here's the key. Like you know how sometimes you can go to the grocery store and buy the like bottles of lemon juice. Like no, you need fresh lemons, and you squeeze it, and it's like it makes squeeze to the point where your like forearm is sore, and you have to put extra in than what the recipe says. And then as soon as they come out of the oven, you sprinkle confectioner sugar, let them sit.
Gold.
It's I swear to God. So it was a mutual thing where I did the lemon squares for the rugula. Like we were both using each other.
That's awesome.
I like this, by the way.
friends
you
with
do the lemon
benefits.
squares, you give her rugula.
Friends with benefits.
Let's go.
Done. But I have a sweets problem. Like I do have a dessert issue.
You look like everything's
Every
going
night.
just fine. I don't see the issue.
Yeah.
An issue is if it's ruining your life all right, what's an...
It's all I've got right now is my dessert at 10 o'clock at night.
Can we just talk about you going to Bill, signing
Yeah.
Bill?
The what?
To Bill Maher.
Oh, please.
Like, what was the decision to pick that platform, and like what drew you to it? She's like the rugelach. Bill had rugelach.
Give me time. Keep asking so I can finish eating. He didn't. He failed me. He's not a real Jew, is he?
I mean, he's Jewish. You can't get rid of your Jewishness. It's a
He
bloodline.
didn't bring me rugelach.
No, correct.
Well,
I mean, he's an atheist.
But he did pour the bourbon.
That's the joke.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, he comes in like super high,
Yeah.
and then he keeps drinking and he keeps getting higher during the podcast.
Is he always high, or that's just on set? Always.
I think so.
He's always high. I didn't know this about Bill.
A lot. Sorry, I'm happy right now.
Did you see, first of all, that podcast?
It's like impossible, by the way, to get through to you. Right? Like to ask
know,
any
it gets my
questions, to get
heart.
any answers. She's like, rugelach. The
Did you
rugelach.
see that Patrick but David and him, that interview? He looked horrific. He definitely had to have been just too high to handle that, because
Yeah, PBD.
that was a rough look. I mean, BBD's a businessman, and that was just...
He is a smart man. I was so glad. And I met him for the first time. I sat right
UFC.
next to him at UFC.
Chris Cuomo was there.
Chris wasn't there.
Maybe it was the one before that.
Maybe.
Chris was definitely there at one of the
Tucker was
last...
there at one of the New York ones, but it was in that row. First of all, I'm going to say this to Dana. I don't know this. I haven't asked him this, but as my first UFC, because usually I'm in studio, I never got to go to them.
Right.
And now that I'm living in Florida, part-time, soon to be full-time, he's like, "You're there." I'm like, "Oh my God, I'll go." So I just knew I'd have a ticket. I didn't know where I'd be sitting. For him to seat me directly behind him, Dana and Donald Trump, and I'm like right there, like the seat behind them, I was like, oh, good Lord. Because every shot's
going to be of you, and they show pan to them.
And where was it airing? ESPN.
ESPN.
So
Steele is back on ESPN behind Dana and Donald.
Trump. I don't know if that was intentional, but I mean, it is what it is. I didn't ask. I just thought, okay, I'll be somewhere. I'm just glad to be there. So it's me, and then one of my best friends, Joe, a dear friend of mine who I brought, and then...
Can you bring me next time?
Portnoy, and then...
I'm a nice guy.
Yeah, you are very nice, especially since you brought me your...
I'm a friend.
Now we're best friends.
I also love UFC. Anyways, yeah, go on, nothing.
I love it now.
Yeah.
And then, Portnoy and Taylor and like his crew, and then PBD, and then Candace Owens. Like, so that was the front row. And I remember being like, where am I? And it would not be happening, by the way, if I were still at ESPN. Like, a lot has changed.
Right.
Wait, what was the point of this conversation?
Why Bill Maher's high? Why Bill Maher? Why that platform?
Thank you. Keep me on track. So he invited me on his show in September or October of last year. And I was like, really? Bill Maher wants to talk to me? It's one thing if it's Fox News or whoever.
Right.
By the way, I was always willing to go on other platforms, but no one else ever called. No one that's more on the left ever would call. So I say yes to who asks. If it fits my schedule, I say yes to everybody. And so I went, and they flew me out there, and I'd never met him before. And I was just blown away that halfway through the interview, he offered me a job. And I was like,
really?
Yeah, like on the air. And I'm like, okay, he's high. He's not going to remember this.
Is he high on all the panel discussions also? Like when he's doing his show?
On
Bill Maher
HBO?
show?
I don't think so. On HBO.
No, not on that.
I think the podcast stuff is much
Just the
different.
podcast
Yeah.
stuff.
I don't think he is for HBO. I feel like he comes across differently. And then I ignored it, and they did it again. And I said to him, I was like, do you really mean that? Because this is like being recorded. He's like, absolutely. You need to do a show with us. And then we got off the air, and my attorney was there with me, just because I was in LA, and he's my dear friend now.
Right.
And they started talking right away. And I was like, oh my God. So I also he's Bill Maher. I never on God's green earth thought that I would ever be doing anything with Bill Maher, much less him inviting me on his show.
Sure.
We're so different. I didn't like, sometimes he's super intense and rude. And I was like, oh my God, that's not my style. But like, what an opportunity to show people that it doesn't matter what your beliefs are and how different you are. You can have a conversation. and be kind and lead with kindness with the whole thing and disagree, but then still have a drink together. Who cares? Like, that's how I live in my life.
Right.
So for Bill, of all people, to offer me a show on his new network to be his first hire, I was shocked and so honored and flattered, especially because I'll be honest, like with everything that happened, you know, you kind of feel unwanted a little bit, even if you have the talent to do something at the highest level. And for him to see me in that way and to put his opinions aside just to see what I have to offer from a talent perspective meant the world to me.
Like felt validated, vindicated in a certain way.
I did, but just honored and so grateful, gave me hope for like our country, that someone, like, we could not be more opposite from, he thinks marriage is a waste of time, kids are annoying, and he's an atheist.
Yeah.
I believe in marriage. I hope to someday go down that road again permanently. I live for my kids, and I have a strong faith in God. Like, we could not be more different. But that's the beauty of America, where you can have those differences and then work together and maybe grow from each other and learn from each other. Like, what better? Everyone's like, for a decade, it's long before I had any controversy, it's been, oh, when you're done, you're going to be on Fox News. And I'm like, really? I never had a desire to do that, because then you're really only picking one side.
Right.
And so this way, he has a lot of very left-leaning viewers. I'm hoping they're going to be like, what the hell? Give me a chance, because Bill did. And I'm already, some of the guests that I've had on and haven't dropped all the shows yet, we do not think alike. And I love that.
Yeah, Bill is, he's, as much as you're saying that he's very, different, and he certainly is, and he certainly has opinions that are like, and beliefs that are very contrary to my own as well.
What you believe,
Mainly the things you just mentioned, because we're more on the line on those things. But he also has a middle ground. He's a unique guy.
Yeah, there's a moderation that he has of an open-mindedness.
Nowadays, yes.
Yes.
I don't know that
Not when he was younger, like when.
No.
But he became more moderate as
Yeah,
time.
he became, as he saw the left-leaning progressive things
Correct.
come out.
Oh, yes,
he became more and more and more like,
has
what the
said
hell
that.
is happening? Because I also think like people that were actual liberals,
Yeah.
like when Bill Clinton was around, like 93 to 01, like those times, like they're actually offended by the fact that like now being branded a liberal has to be that you are, LGBTQ plus, transgender in sports, everything like under the sun, all the different things that they believe in, right? Like that everything has to be, all the way to the left. It like offends actual liberals.
Mm-hmm. Well, he talks about that.
Right.
He's like, it's one thing to be liberal, it's another thing to be woke.
Right.
And he's like, he goes, I'm just basing things on common sense. And that's for a vaccine mandate. That doesn't make sense. For what's happening at the border, immigration. He's like, no. For transgender sports. So these are core issues that a lot of
Why
Americans
sports?
are focusing on, and with the transgender issue.
I'm joking. I'm saying what? Yeah.
Right. And so he's like, that's common sense stuff. Where most people, if you poll a reputable poll in America, especially with transgender sports and these men coming to try to take over women's sports, not even take over, just be in it. Get out.
You're being really nice by making this transgender sports. I don't know why we're not just stopping at transgenderism. I don't know why we have to go to sports.
That's just
That's
been
my
my
personal
focus
opinion.
for so long.
What?
My focus for so long has been
Sports.
with
I got
and-
it. And
yeah.
Because like even if you are transgender, in order to like, then oh my god,
it's
the whole thing.
it's obscene. It's
The whole
ridiculous.
thing,
It's
the
not-
whole thing.
Imagine telling
It's-
your dad this 30 years ago. When
My God.
he would look at you like you.
Even 5 years ago, it's like, what? But Bill sees that stuff. And I think that he is an example of why we should have hope. Because if we use our brain for stuff, like, it's BS and it's stupid and it's weird and it's evil and it's unnecessary and like it's all the things. And Bill will say that. So he's representative, I think, of many liberals
right
who are just using common sense. That's all this is. It
feel-
shouldn't be
I feel
political.
Are you worried about your kids? They're all going to college. You
right yeah
just said
3 of
the
them in
last one.
college yeah.
Are you worried about what they're going to be, for lack of a better word, indoctrinated perhaps with, and like with what they're pushing at this point?
Are you worried with like the academia and like
No.
what they're gonna learn
I'm
in college?
not. Maybe I should be, but I'm not. My older two are already at High Point University, which is nothing like Ivy League as far as what they're trying to teach and push. It's actually one of the few universities that did not require the vaccine.
Oh, really?
One of the few. It was originally based, I think, as a Methodist university, but there's no, you don't have to do anything. It's not a Christian university. It's not that. But the motto is God, family, country. And they have stuck with it, even though there's no requirements to go to church or mass or anything. So, but the president, Nito Kibane, is absolutely committed to that diversity. The American flag is everywhere on campus. And at the beginning of all sporting events, you will stand up and you will take your hat off. He demands it. It's an incredible university, probably the most beautiful, over-the-top campus you'll find in America, about 6,000 undergrads. And so anyway, that's a great place for them. My youngest is going to an SEC school in the fall. I think it's different in the South than it is in the Northeast, in the Midwest, and even in the Big Ten where I went to school. Like, I am glad my daughter's not going to my alma mater. And I never thought I'd say that.
Wow.
But
Indiana's that bad?
It's the same as everybody else. All these other universities, it's the same.
Right.
And indoctrinated and preach diversity and tolerance and acceptance, but don't practice it.
So in essence, the reason you're not scared of it is because they've picked schools that are not going to be pushing those interests down their throat.
And even if they did, I believe, because there'll be conversations, there could probably be around, I mean, there's a lot of kids from the Northeast and the Midwest and the West that are going to schools in the South now. Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, Ole Miss, they're super popular now with people in the Northeast. It's very interesting. So there's a lot of liberals who are attending those schools. And certainly, I mean, in academia in general, professors lean that way in general, no matter where you are.
Right.
There's going to be that. But I believe that they have been around enough really important common sense conversations to listen and then make their own decision. That's how I was raised. My parents never told me who they voted for. I asked, and they were like, none of your business. I'm like, excuse me?
Really?
I said this on PBD the other day because everyone's like, oh, you're a military kid. No wonder you're like Republican. I'm like, my parents never said a word. They told me, you go figure it out. You go do your homework. You decide who you're going to vote for and why, not us. I haven't been quite as disciplined like that with my kids. I'm like, they're jackasses for saying that. Don't you dare, But at the end of the day, kids do what we want, right?
So there's a much bigger polarization nowadays. There's a sense of protection in a certain way. Like maybe, I don't know, I wasn't around when you were a kid and like, but like.
Thank you for saying that.
I mean, I wasn't.
It's great.
I wasn't.
Why
maybe
would you say that?
Maybe I wasn't. This is a reincarnated version.
You could have rephrased that, but it's fine.
This is why I'm single. I'm too authentic with it.
Yeah, he should not be giving advice then, right?
Right, exactly. Don't be listening. But like, yeah, they didn't have to tell you who they voted for back then because like there was less polarization, let's say.
That is true.
And so because of the less polarization, it's like me telling you who I voted for is not like indoctrinating you into some thinking, right?
It's not as important.
Right, not as important.
Right.
Nowadays, me telling you whether I voted for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or whether I voted for, Donald Trump or what was...
It says a lot about your values,
It says, it's like... It's much more value based, and like there's a certain like aspect where you want to like protect your children in a certain.
It's very
way
simple. If someone tells you they vote for,
it's
very simple. If someone tells you they voted for, Joe Biden versus Trump, the immediate assumption you make on that person is something very strong.
It's not fair. Yeah.
Right.
Whatever. There's such a divide. There's such a divide.
Such a divide, and and it's a shame that there's such a divide. Like that you can't just vote for Donald Trump or vote for Joe Biden or whatever it is. And still be a normal human being that you can just be around.
Well, and listen, we're all guilty of it at times. I will say, if I'm on a plane and I see people with masks on, or in an airport or in a grocery store, I'm like, Biden.
You have to hear what he says.
100%.
I mean,
his line was your line that I love the people that wear masks because it allows me to right away off the bat just be able to tell who I don't want to hang around. Or something like that. It's like thank you for outing yourself.
No,
but
so I'll tell you, this is actually a funny story. I was on an airplane yesterday. And I was FaceTiming someone. I didn't have any earphones or earbuds. And they told
that person?
It was not so loud. It was not.
I give you like mean mugging.
Oh my
stare
God,
you
mean
down
mug.
if you do that.
This woman turns around and is like, shh. Whereas there was a girl right behind her doing the same thing with earbuds in, but talking the same loud as I'm talking. And the person, it's not like you're hearing the person in the camera that loud. And then at the end of the flight, I walked past and I saw her and she had a mask on. I'm like, totally makes freaking sense. You freaking Karen.
You Karen. It's true.
And I'm just like,
But
anyone wearing a mask at this time right now in 2024,
when
right
we
now,
know from all the science, it does.
and they're not even telling you to wear masks anymore.
But I think it's a lot of virtue signaling too.
That's what Vivek said on our pod. Actually,
Who are they virtue signaling? There's only 2 of them on the airplane, so are they virtue signaling to each other? Like, is it like a mating
they're
call?
better than us. They're a mating call. Oh, is it male and female? Or wait, that doesn't matter. Male today, female tomorrow. It's all good.
It's like a mating call. It's like anyone in masks now.
But at the end of the day, like I know for a fact, I would not date someone who wears masks.
That's what I'm saying.
100%. Like, no. And that's okay. I guess I'm closed-minded, but no, it tells me. Plus, like you're a scaredy cat. Like,
no,
stop.
there's such a thing as also. I'm saying, would you date someone who puts their pants on their head and walks around blind? No, I'm saying like, no. I mean, it could show that someone's crazy. So like, that's it. You don't want to date a crazy person. I'm saying that's effectively at this point you're crazy. Like I think it's.
It shows that you can't think for yourself in a certain way.
Yes.
What?
That's what it shows. It shows that you can't think for yourself.
No, but it's more than that at this point.
That
was
you're
in 2022.
indoctrinated.
That was in 2022. It showed that. In 2024, it simply shows, in my opinion, a real mental health issue. No, I'm being dead serious. If you're still wearing a mask now,
he's dead serious.
In 2024, no, it's a mental health issue. 100%. It's OCD. It's an anxiety that's way past the level.
I agree.
Biden and the left is not making you wear a mask. Trust me, there's no fucking issue going on. If there was an issue of any sorts, they'd be making you wear the goddamn mask. For the next 100 years. Everyone's fine.
Well, but they want you to, and to have the fear, and to be dependent, and blah, blah, blah.
Anyways,
yes.
I got to ask you this.
Uh-oh.
What does the future hold? And what are the aspirations?
For me? Oh my.
Yeah, because you've accomplished, you're in the next phase of Sage Steele's life, right? You're 47, where are you now?
There's a 5.
Right, I know.
51.
51. So you're really moving into the next stage. You did ESPN.
I might be dead tomorrow at this rate. Like, I mean, you're 51.
No, I did a letter. You did 16 years, and that's before another
Fine,
5
it's
years.
all the dark chocolate and wine.
You did 5 years local before that, also.
11 years
more,
local.
11 years local. But I'm saying you had the
all the research has been off. By the way, this entire question, Sage. So you're 34.
I'm like, yes, I'm 34.
Sage, you're 34,
absolutely.
and you've done 2 years of local news, and you're starting at ESPN. What's next for you?
So go fuck yourself. Thank you very much. Okay, this guy. 2001 to 2007, you were at right? You were Comcast.
That's where?
Indiana. Not Indiana.
DC.
DC. Baltimore.
But you had years. This
I
is
knew
very
it.
impressive.
I knew it. And then 07 to 23, you were in ESPN.
Yes.
Doing a
That's
host.
an easy one. Very good.
Okay, whatever. I don't know what the hell you want from me.
I'm impressed.
And now.
23 to present, you've done.
No, but real talk.
Very little.
What happens now? Now you're with Bill Maher.
24, now you're with
I
Bill
feel like
Maher.
you have a plan with Bill Maher of like what you want to accomplish.
I have this show that I freaking love right now. And it's doing what we just did. Because it's not an interview, it's a conversation. I think there's a huge difference. I've done 100,000 interviews in my career. That's like your 4-minute hit on SportsCenter. Adam Schefter comes on, or a coach or a player, and it's like in and out, got to go to break. Conversation is when you just talk. And then you are yourself and you let it go. And you don't edit out when you call Dana White, Joe Rogan, and you just like talk.
What did I tell you in the car before he walked in here? I said, Sage is one of the coolest people that I've met. And I was here for 10 minutes I spoke to you. I said,
Facts.
This is not an interview. This is not question answer.
Thank you.
We
It's
ask our
not.
questions within a flow of conversation because she's easy to talk to.
Thank you. That's
Something
a
I've been
compliment.
teaching him throughout many podcasts. We just finally got to a podcast where we have a guest where we were able to do flow.
What was that?
I'm saying you're usually the structured one that needs the question. What question are we asking? What question
No, it depends who the guest is.
But now that we have
Which does matter.
Which
The
does
gu-
matter.
the
If you have a
guest-
guest, it all depends on what guest you
Yeah.
have.
The guest
then-
is not
Sometimes you have
talking
guests
if-
where you have to pull things out of them and different things.
It's brutal.
True.
It's brutal.
It's
And
true.
I had one recently on my new show where I was like, oh gosh. And we could not be more different in every way. She's Hollywood, left, liberal, all these things. And I'm like, whoa. And it ended up being super cool because I could feel kind of the hesitation
Tension.
on her end, at the beginning. And from her and the person she was with, like her publicist. And then I'm like, I knew I had a challenge on my hands, but I really was curious to know what she's about, what makes her tick. And she's brilliant and very accomplished. And so I could tell when I got her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a really good way. Not got her, but just like where she maybe
Person to
trusted
person.
me a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
And so this dog comes in here. I'll kill her. Anyway, like I it's everything to me because I don't care about your stats or your accomplishments or your resume. I care about like what's in here and who are you and what's your why. I just want to keep doing that. I don't know what's next, but I know that if I can help, like, I don't know, bring people together more through conversation by me interviewing, talking to people who are different than me. I don't even care again what you've done. I just want to know, like, when you hit that wall, when you get scared, you know, all of those things, like, where do you go? I know where I go. It's to my mom and dad, and I'm old and it's okay to still do that. You asked about like the strength and to be able to push through stuff. Despite what you see on TV from all of these public figures or on the big screen movies, like they're all human and they all have pain. Yeah. And they probably have a relative who's dealing with something terrible and cancer, and a child maybe has addiction issues. Like, we put people in a box and we judge them and we don't know what their thing is. So I want to know their thing, and I want to know how they've continued to push through. And maybe it's like me continuing to go on SportsCenter every single day, even though I was scared to death and I knew I was hated and it's in the back of my mind. But like, how do you push through? What I have found through my vulnerability, whether it's talking about the professional stuff or the personal stuff.
Real courage. I think courage is a huge word here.
I think it is. And it's not ever the intent. I wasn't trying to make it, but like
you are.
What I have found through sharing that stuff is that not only have I felt better, it's like therapeutic to let it out at times. And I've kept it in for 100 years. Not only does it feel good for me to let out, the feedback I've gotten from people, from strangers I'll never meet, where they're like, oh my God, you too? Oh my God, you're a working mom where your husband was a stay-at-home, and then, oh my God, you're divorced, and oh my God, you have 3 kids, and oh my God, you didn't want to do the shop, but you had to do it anyway, or oh my God, you're biracial, oh my God, you realize you're not alone, and then they realize they're not alone. And that, if I can help that, because I know what it feels like to be so alone in something, and it's devastating. So that's my goal, is to just continue to have conversations so people don't feel like they're alone, because it sucked. And I never want anybody to feel the way I did.
Yeah, the loneliness, I hear that.
It's real.
You should read, not that you should, whatever. I don't know if you ever read, now I don't read anymore because my brain is literally way too ADHD.
Me too. I can't read, but I listen. I'll do podcasts.
Daring Greatly?
Yeah, she talks a lot about
Which
this.
one?
Daring Greatly.
Brene Brown.
Talks a lot. It's whatever.
She talks a lot about this particular thing of like not wanting to, like she has the term fitting in and the term belonging. Like we all need to belong. Like we can't be fitting in always. So
she's so brilliant with that.
Yeah.
And what's her word? The shame.
Yeah.
The shame stuff, and where like we all have it, and there was shame for feeling like, okay, but for the marriage to fail. Yeah. And from a religious aspect, personal aspect, pride, like all the things, like, oh my God, I failed. And there's such shame in that within Catholicism and my own pride.
That exists in Orthodox Judaism very much. There's a lot of similarities.
There's a lot of similarities.
A lot.
Yeah. But I also, like, so there's shame in that, but it's like, wait, I'm preaching to my kids to be true to themselves and to not fake it and to stand up and be strong and kind. Well, because you can be both. Both should exist together. And then I'm going to just stay quiet or not go there because I'm afraid of what my priest is going to say, or what I was living that like, oh my God, God's going to hate me and be so mad at me because I'm making this decision. And I don't think that God wants us to live in an unhappy way. So I don't know. I know I go in circles here, but I'm just so passionate about being true to who you are and accepting your faults and giving yourself grace for the stuff that you do or don't do out of fear, and for being true to yourself. Like, God, it's freaking scary. It's painful and it's costly. It's cost me a lot in every way.
Very impressive. It's really impressive because you're like.
I'm tired. I got to tell you, I'm exhausted. I'm just now addressing it. I just now found a really good therapist I've been avoiding for a long time. I had a session today. Can you tell? Like, I was
going to say, I've been doing therapy 12 years, and he's been running for a while also.
So.
Okay. Microphone said all Jewish people go to therapy, right? Isn't that a stereotype? All Jewish people go to therapy. No, right? But like,
it wasn't an accepted thing. I mean, whatever.
More recently, no. And my girlfriend's like, oh yeah, we all do that. I'm like, what do you mean we? What do you do? Like, stop. But it doesn't matter. Oh my God, we all have crap. I don't care how perfect your life is. Yeah. And there's traumas, and I think that word is overused. But I know it's legit too. And I'm like, when you have to keep pushing forward, go to work, go to do this, put a smile on all that.
The pain you're referring to and like holding all that shit in for so many years, that's what needs to be healed. That's the healing process.
But you have to be willing to go there.
Yeah. That's the scariest thing is to go there. But I'm saying, you talk about trauma and therapy and like whatever, that is an actual healing process of grieving. And
but sometimes you don't, like when you're a type A and a high achiever because your own personal bar is high, it's like, no, I'm just gonna keep going. It's there. It's fine. And then it's not.
I know what you're talking about. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you ask anyone that knows me, I'm a pretty high achiever. I started this 16 months ago. I'm sitting with Sage Steele. So I've been pushing for a long
you guys
time.
have crushed. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Like, you guys have absolutely crushed. And that takes courage to go into a space that is very overloaded in many ways. And same thing me. I'm like, who needs another podcast? Yeah, but if yours is different, it is needed, you know? But it does take courage to start it up and believe in yourself and believe that you're going to be different and be able to bring stuff out of people that others can't.
Well, was I successful, I guess is the question.
I mean, how long have we been here?
A long time.
I've been on enough where I realize it's like, okay, next question. Okay, peace out, bye, thanks. And I'm like, doesn't interest me.
I hear that.
I wanted you to come to my house because I don't know, I just trusted and I don't let many people in.
I'm so honored.
No, don't be. I'm just saying I don't let people in because that's proven to be painful at times when you kind of open up to in any way. And you like when you came in, my youngest daughter was here and I'm like, came downstairs like soaking wet hair. Like, I'll be right there. Like, that's the real me.
I'm saying I love that. That's
but I just trust and I have a good gut about people and people's intentions. And that's what it is. I don't care how big or small your show is. Anyone. Like, are you real? Are you kind? Right. What's your goal for doing it? You guys are making a difference. And that's just the way I know that I need to live now because it's too painful to keep it in.
Yeah.
And then I just hope that but guess what? Congratulate yourself because you're 20 years ahead of me, right? Like, it took me so long to get to the point, a different generation too, but to get to the point where you're like, no, I'm going. And I know my dad wants me to not say certain words as often or same thing in your community. Like,
you can hold two truths. Yeah, you can hold both to be true. Like, go after your creative space and then also honor, like, your parents a little bit. And like, okay, you don't have to say the F word. Fine, Todd.
Well, I'm aware of it. Plus, because I really like the F word. But I also know that, like, my priest watches everything I do.
Right.
Oh, really? He's watching your priest?
My priest is the best. He also sends me articles, and he's like, this was awesome. And he's like, good job. Go get him. I'm praying for you. I'm going to say a prayer for you in Mass. I'm like, thank you. I need it. I'm scared. Like, all of those, I don't know. We're human. I have a sign in my office that says, I love Jesus, but I cuss a little.
I saw your office is pretty dope. I didn't even realize I saw you were on the Wheaties box. Holy shit.
I don't think that's real.
Oh, it's not?
But they did this
That's
whole
pretty
Wheaties
cool
promotion.
then. I mean, I remember I was a little child. I was like, Wheaties. Like,
it's only for Olympians, and I was not one.
Oh, really?
Maybe my next life.
Only Olympians?
All the Olympians were like Michael Jordan, like
or like
all the big
Jeter,
athletes.
like
You
have to be a top tier.
You do.
A
I think I did some promotion or something, and they sent it to me. I was like, okay, Wheaties box. Of course, I look like I was 12 there. I wish I still looked like that. But no, I'm appreciative of what you're doing, and it does take courage. Really does. And I hope that you guys, like, what I would say, not in the podcast space, but just life in general. Mm-hmm. And I say this to my kids too, like, be present. And like, one of the things I wish I had done was kept a journal from like college on, because the college memories are really fun. But especially after that, early in my career, to be able to look back on, as I try to write a book, which is overwhelming me right now, and I keep running away from it because it's like once you start writing and going there, you're like, oh my God, sobbing, like it's hard, which means it needs to be done. But I wish I'd kept a journal to like remember all these things, because think about where you're going to be in 10 years. If this is only 16 months old, 10 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, oh my God, look what we did. And appreciating all these experiences. For sure. It's easy now. You don't have to like handwrite. Right. Get on your voice memo on your phone. And and just when you're done with Vivek's interview, it's like, what are the this is a presidential candidate, some like billionaire child, basically. And it's like, okay, this is my takeaway. Like, document that stuff.
I heard that.
I wish I had, because you're going now. You're like, go, 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 go. And it's like, you can't really smell the roses. It took me that day on the set in Cleveland, in front of everybody, to smell those roses and like, oh my God, I did it.
I was gonna say, what was the breakthrough moment?
Yeah, we had that written down as probably our fourth question.
No, really.
2 hours ago, my fourth question was.
I'm curious.
My breakthrough moment, what do you mean?
You said the moment was in Cleveland, the 2012?
Where I
was when LeBron
appreciated it?
No, I was going to say, what was your breakthrough moment where you knew you finally got there? You knew you made it.
Or like you really broke through, like, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
like you're a dream since you were 11 years old. Like when do you know you made it? When you signed on in 2007 with ESPN?
Right.
When, you know,
the first day on SportsCenter.
First day on SportsCenter?
The very first day, and it was a disaster. But for the first 5 seconds, it was great. And to stand there, and I remember what I was wearing, and counting down, and like 5, 4, and I was like, "Hi, welcome to SportsCenter." I was like, "Oh."
You still know the opening, just like what you would say every single day.
Who are you co-anchoring with for that show?
So that very, very first day was Neil Everett. Yeah, and I was filling in for Jay Harris, who was sick. It was the 6 p.m. SportsCenter.
So you lit the prime time slot, basically.
6 p.m., first time ever. Insane. Usually they give you a month on ESPN News. This is back in the day.
Right.
ESPN News to get all your stuff out and figure it out and, be terrible and botch your highlight. But then there's only 100,000 people watching versus a million or whatever. Right. And Jay called in sick and they needed somebody. And so I knew I wasn't ready, but I was like, what do you say? No. So you do it. That was they barely had me do a couple reads and a highlight. The next day was day one of the NCAA Final Four in 2007. That Thursday, that first day of games where there's 800,000 basketball games in one day, and then you go on the 6 p.m. SportsCenter, and it's an hour show went to 2 hours and 45 minutes unscripted because all the stuff's coming in and highlights.
Wow.
And it was terrible. I was awful. And I was completely unprepared, and they put me in a position.
Well, they threw you into the freaking
correct.
furnace.
But what am I going to say? No.
Right. No,
I knew I wasn't ready, but I had to say yes, and it was a disaster.
Right.
And it took me 2 years mentally to recover from that first show.
Oh, wow.
Oof. So sad. Anyway.
Well, you recovered pretty well.
I came out of it, and I'm still standing a little bit at the scars are back there, but I would do everything all over again. I just wouldn't wait as long if I could control it. No, not to talk, to believe in myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sad part.
I think it's a beautiful. I actually think that's a very strong lesson. No, I actually love that lesson as it shows such a strong thing, and I know we need to wrap, but it shows such a strong aspect of even if you do not feel always, you can still you could still make it, even if you don't feel. So many people think they need to feel confident to execute.
Yeah.
And you are here as one of the most accomplished anchors of the last 30 years, facts.
Yeah.
And you didn't feel it for a majority of the time. So,
but they didn't. I think I would hope that as leaders in every aspect of corporate America or blue collar, whatever, mom and pop, hardware store around the corner, you're all leaders, and you've got to lead properly and uplift your employees and make them feel like they deserve to be there, because sometimes they're scared. But again, what I wish I had remembered was they're not doing me any favors by hiring me. They're hiring me because they think I can do it, and because they think I'm going to make them look good. So they're paying me. So they believe in me, obviously, or I wouldn't be in this position right now. Why do I not believe in myself?
Right.
We got to look at that and get out of our own heads. But as leaders, man, we are doing a disservice, because if you empower that young man who's on SportsCenter for the first time and achieving his dream, but he's scared and tight, if you bring him aside and say, great job here, here's where we need to work, empower them, not only are they going to get better, but the whole company wins because you're the face.
Right.
So simple to lead, and very few people know how to lead and how to have a tough conversation. And that's where I'm God.
We were talking about this on Menachem.
How to have the tough conversation with empathy. It's how to
remember what it feels like to
empathy.
be scared and to be new and young and intimidated, And people forget, when you forget where you came from, when you forget what that very first podcast felt like to do and to sit down and have all the things, and someone who trusted you enough to sit down with you, and then you're on podcast 468, every day when I walked in that SportsCenter studio, as painful as it was at the end the last few years and the crap that was going on, I still appreciated what it was. And I walked in that studio every day and I was like, this is awesome.
Right.
So you can't forget the climb, you know?
I'm with you 100%. I wanted to ask one other thing. The show is called Mislaibeled.
Yeah.
And I like to ask every guest before we leave, before we wrap, what do you think people don't understand about you? I mean, you've spoken a lot, obviously.
Even though I feel like it's been 3 hours.
Yes,
of
I feel like you've gotten it out, but
Mislaibeled,
I'm just curious if there was a synopsis and a point.
And a summary of.
Don't make me get all. Yeah, I mean, people think I'm this right-wing, closed-minded. I don't know. That probably vaguely describes it well enough. And also somebody who likes to, stir the pot and make headlines. And it's like, it's the last thing I ever wanted to do. So I hate that that's out there, that I'm this troublemaker who's now, I've seen a lot that she's a grifter, she's this or that. And I'm like, because I stood up for myself and others. So I don't like that, but I'm okay with it. Because deep down, I know my why for standing up. I'd never talked to an attorney in my life about anything. Like I should have, probably for my divorce. Like I didn't do anything. I just was like, go, 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 please, please, please. And then it's like, nope.
Wow.
So if people look at the principle, even if you don't agree with why I stood up, the principle of it, I think they might have a different opinion. The good part, again, is that I'm okay now with them mislabeling me. It's okay because I know it's here and my friends know it's here. And I think someday people who care might look back and be like, oh, wow, I get it now.
Let me ask you, any plugs that we can give? New show, obviously.
I'm really grateful to Bill Maher and his team for seeing me for more than just some headline, because it's easier to do that. And so for them to give me an opportunity, and it's so weird to have full creative control with my teammates, the two executive producers. Never had that. And I didn't realize, like, I'm a producer at heart. Everything we did every day for my whole career, different stops, has been about telling a story.
Right.
And so it's one thing to do a podcast. It's another thing to edit and produce how you want it to come off on YouTube.
Yes.
And for pictures to be part of it, to tell the story of Matt Barnes, who he's this bad boy in the NBA, but like, why? Like, what was his upbringing that
just create the narrative?
And when you show a picture of him as a kid with his parents, like that stuff matters. And so I'm so grateful to be given a chance. I'm so grateful to no longer be afraid to speak and to be who I am. But I had to figure out who I was. And I didn't fully know until I got crushed, until I realized all the people I thought were, believed in me, maybe still did, but didn't have the courage to be like, not I agree with you, but like, I see you. That's it. We don't have to agree. I don't want you to agree with me. It's like, but I see you. And so I know that no matter what, like, I'm not afraid. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I don't know where my next paycheck's coming from. Literally, I have no idea. But I feel like I'm going to figure it out. The fact that I'm still standing, I'm not trying to be dramatic. Like,
not at all.
I've proven I can kind of do a lot of things, most importantly, proven to myself.
Yeah.
It just took a hell of a long time. So I really hope that what people take from me using my voice now is to not wait as long as I did. That's my why for speaking up. Don't wait as long as I did. Take that chance, fall on your face, get back up. You're going to be able to wake up the next day. And then you're like, wait, I'm still here. There must be a reason. It's kind of cool when you no longer care and you realize that you're here for something much bigger than being a sportscaster.
I love it. I really love it. Guys, the Sage Steele Show.
Thank you. Okay, what do you say? Subscribe, like,
comment.
Oh my God, I didn't know about all this stuff. Now I'm like, help me.
I'm not even kidding. I am so honored, like I said earlier, to be in your house.
100%.
Whenever I got invited to VEX, I'm like sitting with famous people. I don't even know how it would happen in their freaking house.
How about you give yourself some credit for that, you guys?
Thank you.
Give yourself some credit. And now you're my best friend for life.
That's a great picture.
When I can't fit in these jeans tomorrow, screw you. This is your fault.
Listen, you can text me tomorrow. Screw you in the morning. I'll be fine. But no, real talk. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you, guys.
We're coming back at you guys next week, of course, with another great episode. Peace, love. Peace out.